This is the 22nd season of Bass Talk Live. BTL is presented by Bass Cat Boats, Strike King Lures, AFTCO, Pro Guide Batteries, Spro, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Beatdown Outdoors, and Sunline.
BTL coming at you.
Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of BTL, Bass Talk Live, where we are going to talk about bass fishing. I've kind of prepped the show for a little bit. Like I said, I say it all the time. I said I like to take advantage of the companies that support BTL and use their expertise to help educate, entertain, and engage. The 3 E's of BTL. And at the BASSMASTER Classic, whether you fish out of, if you follow the sport, here's how I'll set this premise up. Technology has been a hot topic since 2009, when we heard of this thing called side imaging. And before that, you can go back through the whole thing, the paper graph, to the flasher, to the screen, to the color screen, to GPS, to more in-depth contour lines, to 1-foot contour lines, to side imaging, to navionics and lake master chips and sea mapping, to faster processors, to where we went through the era where you saw guys with Humminbird, Garmin, and Lowrance on the front of their boats, to the forward-facing era, which started off as colored blobs, which then transitioned to live scope, to the whole 9 yards. So whether you like it, you hate it, you're indifferent on it, technology has been an evolving trend in our sport in the quest to catch more and bigger fish and enjoy our time on the water. And if you want to stick with the flasher and go out and David Fritz it with a DT20 and a loose crank stick touched to your inner thigh so you feel more vibration and find that bottom with the rock, or you want to go out on Gunnersville and find the hard spots by putting a rope on a window weight and dragging it around the bottom until you feel the vibration from a hard, you can do it however you want. But there's no doubt that there's been an arms race when it comes to technology over the past 5 or 6 years. And we had Scott Palmer from the Bass Tank on, and I talked with him about this off air, and I've talked with other guys too. And for the last 3 or 4 years, the talk has been what's next, because, they had the Active Target and then the Active Target 2, and then Humminbird's done it, but Garmin had the LVS 32, and then they went to the LVS 34. And I don't want to use the term stagnant, but it seems like over the past 2 or 3 years, we had all of this boom, 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 boom in that 2019, 20, 21, and 22, 23. And then for the last 2 or 3 years, it's been fairly, I would say, stable. Yeah, you've seen organizations that have limited it or restricted it, or had it at some, had it at not. But it's been kind of 360, AT2, LVS 34. And we've been kind of in this stable environment for the last couple years. And that changed at the Bassmaster Classic week and a half ago, where you kind of saw some precursors to it. There are some hints that Garmin was dropping, some hints that Lowrance was dropping, and I think we're officially in the next era. So in typical fashion, I called Scott and I said, I'm getting a new Bass Cat in the middle of this year. And I said, what do I need to do here? How do I need to do it? And he said, just hang tight. There's stuff that's coming out. And then I don't fully understand it. So I said, okay, instead of wasting an hour and a half of your time behind the scenes of me going, I don't get it, blah, blah, blah. I said, just come on BTL and we'll have the discussion live and we'll see how it goes. And then you can educate me and all of our listeners at the same time. We're going to play some videos. We're going to bring Scott in, and we're just going to inform everybody out there in the bass fishing world what's going on. And I have given Scott, if you've listened to BTL, you know this, Scott has a tendency to go down some wormholes. It's that engineer in him. I told Scott, I said, nerd out. I said, and then at the end of it, we'll circle back and we'll put it in layman's terms. So me and well, we have the most educated fan base in the sport. I'll say me and 75% of the listeners can understand what you talked about, because there's probably 25 that understand what he's talking about right off the bat. Fair entry, Scott?
I think you hit the nail on the head, Matt.
Not a controversial show. If you don't like it, you can go watch Good Morning America. You can go watch something else. If it's not your cup of tea, I totally understand. If it is your cup of tea, you've come to the right place. If you're somewhat in the middle, at least you'll know what's going on.
Yeah, and that's the thing about it. It's more about education, because I can tell you I spend a lot of time on the phone answering these same questions. And so there's a lot of interest, but there's a lot of just, I use the term ignorance, but that's just because people don't know. Hey, here's this new thing, Scott, help me understand. And then I'll decide if I'm interested in it. And that's perfectly fine. I get it, because you hit the nail on the head with the arms race. It has been a kind of, I don't want to say a ceasefire, because it's never a ceasefire, but it's a absolute, we're waiting on that next thing, and Lowrance kind of started it this year by releasing the XL to start they announced it early January, and we're starting to see shipping, and I've got a huge waiting list of people that are ready to buy it as soon as they hit my door. And so that's been what people have been waiting on, and obviously as a business owner, it's no secret I'm in business. I monitor and I kind of see, I look at the analytics, and I can tell the consumers have been ready for that next thing. And because it's been, hey, this has been good stuff, but we're ready for that next thing. And it's been stagnant isn't the right word, but it is, it's been kind of just more of the same for the last.
Like there's been a waiting period where you've heard things where you're saying, oh, they're working on stuff, or, there's some of the top pros that maybe will say, I signed an NDA, I can't say anything, which then is the same thing as saying, oh, so they're working on something new that's coming out. Like I have pried you for the past 6 months, and you're typically a guy, and I know how much you like to explain things and get into the weeds. I don't want to get you in trouble, but basically, like every conversation we've had, I would ask questions that you would not respond to. And the fact that you didn't respond to them and you would just say, no comment. You would straight up say no comment, and I would be like, okay, I get it. They're working on some stuff there. So kudos on that, because this stuff, when I walked around the Bassmaster Classic, when I saw some of the releases, Jason Christie has some videos, different guys have some videos out online. The Bass Tank dropped some videos online. When I saw it, I was like, oh, okay, this makes total sense there. But me, as a consumer, as someone in the industry, this was the first time I knew exactly what it would do. And then I would call you and say this, and you're like, yeah, told you something coming out would be cool.
Yeah, well, and you have to understand that there's a lot of you know how my brain works, and so I listen and I gather evidence and I put it together and I say, okay, I'm going to make a very educated guess, and then I know, because I ask questions, and quite frankly, there are people at these companies that know how my brain works and know when they kind of say, Scott, I can't talk to you anymore, because they don't want to get themselves in trouble. And so that's where I say, okay, I'm on a trail here. I'm on something that is very accurate, but I don't know all the details because they can't tell me. They're not going to tell me. They're not going to get themselves in trouble. And so I don't want to ever tell you anything wrong. I also don't want to get myself in trouble, because hey, if these companies trust me to sell their products, I don't want to get any of them in trouble, because they really didn't tell me anything. It's me. I throw a lot of theories out there. I'm like, based on this and this and this, this is what I think is coming. And then it's funny, because a lot of times they'll say, well, I got to go, and they'll turn and walk away because, and I just make my assumptions from there. But
basically, everybody did a good job of keeping it under wraps, but it's not under wraps now. So we're going to explain exactly what it is, how much it costs, what you need to change based on what setup you have now, the features that it have, how it works, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
So let's dive right into it, Scott. Let's start with the January release. You were on BTL in January. Garmin had not really released anything at the time, but Lowrance had come out with like a 2 transducer. What was the Active Target 2 XL?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, so that's kind of where it all started in 2026 was the Active Target 2 XL, which kind of explain exactly what that does and how that's different from Active Target 2.
Yeah. So the Active Target 2 XL transducer, you can still run it with your singular transducer like we're used to. It's a little bit bigger, a little bit different shape. It's a wider cone. You know, the Active Target was an 18-degree cone, and they widened that cone to 20 degrees. So they're expecting a little better bait tracking. This is where the arms race goes. You know, they say, hey, this worked and this didn't work. We excel here. We need to kind of get an all-encompassing. So it's a wider cone than the original Active Targets. And been on the water with it, I've been really excited with. I've been impressed with it. I'll be honest with you. It is just an enhancement. I don't want to say just an enhancement. It's a pretty drastic step ahead of Active Target 2. Like anything, they're going to continue to refine it. They just needed to get it out there for sure. Having been on the water with it, my favorite feature of it is the Scout mode. The Scout mode is phenomenal. And now you can do the Scout mode, which is 180 degrees as opposed to the 135, which is what we're used to with our current, the LBS 34 and the Active Target 2. It's actually 180 degrees. So when you put two of them together, you actually get a live 360. Now, I want to explain that because it's a live 360, but it's still only 20 degrees. That cone we talk about, that it's 20 degrees. So there's going to be, if you're in deep enough water, you're still going to have a blind spot above and below that where you're not going to see it. So I want to address something because you took the reins off. You said I can nerd out. You know, everyone wants a live 360, and that's phenomenal. I get it, but think about a live 360 has to, like our side imaging right now and our new 360 from Garmin and the existing 360 from Humminbird, even the Lowrance, you know, goes 360. That actually does more of a top to bottom in the water column out. Whereas the live 360 that the XL is going to allow you to have is going to be a 20 degree cone. And so sideways. So that means that there's part of the water column that you're not, you know, think of it as a triangle that you're not getting, and above and below that. And so sure, I can see 360, but there are things that I'm going to miss if I haven't driven over them, you know, if I'm not approaching them. And so that's where the live 360 is really, really cool, but we have to consider that even like when we're in Scout mode. You know, I mean, just think of Scout mode perspective for Garmin. When we are running around, there's things we're missing. And so that's why it's only truly effective or best, I don't say only, but it's most effective in shallower water. You know, this time of year, you know, we're moving up into, I'm looking forward to being in 10 foot and less, I'll be honest with you. And I'm looking forward to running my perspective, my Scout mode, to find the beds, to find those roaming fish out in front of grass lines, you know, that are cruising, looking to do their thing. But that's kind of what the XL has allowed us to do. Now, one other thing with the XL is if you notice the way it mounts, I really am impressed with the mount. I've done 2 videos over the mount on how it mounts to the trolling motor shaft, because I think they did a really good job of going through and engineering it to make it a little bit simpler. It's robust. It's a half clam. It's hinged on one side, and it's got a cam style lock on the other. So it's very adjustable, very easy to install. You don't have to have an Allen wrench with you at all times to make adjustments. And then to adjust it into Scout shallow and deep, you just flip a lever, spin it around, and you can make adjustments like that. And then the transducer itself is actually it looks like it's in down mode. It looks like it's in down mode based on the shape of it. But reality is, with software, you know, you can just select down or forward in the software. You don't have to physically orient the transducer anymore.
Okay.
I think I lost Matt, which is awesome.
No, you have that there. So, but that works with my HDS 12 Live. That's no additional units needed. That's still like the Lowrance's deal. Like that's just something that you can purchase and with your current system use.
So the XL will use the Active Target 2 module. So if you've got an AT2, all you need is to update the transducer. It will work with the Pros, the Lives, the Carbon. So they did a good job of trying to backfill. Now, one thing that I want to notate here is if you are interested in running the XL360, you have to have the Pro model. You have to have the HDS Pro. That will not work on the Lives.
Okay. So that came out in what, January?
Yeah, it was announced, I think, early January, if I remember, like the 14th, the 4th or the 14th. There's a 4 in there somewhere. And so we've seen them start shipping. And so, like I said, I can't keep them in stock. They've been very, very popular, for sure.
All right. So let's get to the Bassmaster Classic. Just before the Bassmaster Classic, at the Bassmaster Classic, Garmin dropped something that, from a guy who is familiar with technology, uses it, but I'm not obviously a savant at understanding how it works. To me, it looks like a combination of 360, live scope, perspective mode, and a turret all in one that encompasses the best features of each. That basically, if you were on the water and you thought, boy, I wish I could, that Garmin took notes for 3 years and said, okay, we'll make it so you can do all this stuff. And then they introduced all of those features at once at the Bassmaster Classic with this spy pole.
That's pretty accurate. Yeah, that's a pretty accurate assessment for sure. So
okay, let's dive into it. So the crux, the basic, the key word for what Garmin released is spy pole. Am I correct on that? Like everything kind of revolves around this spy pole that was just.
Yeah, that's what they're calling this product, is the spy pole.
Okay, break it down. Start talking. What is a spy pole? And then work out from there. We've got some videos that we're going to throw in here. I'm not sure how it's going to work, but I'm going to try to use my 2,500 BTLs over the past 17 years to try to make this into a cohesive show.
All right, so let's just do a quick overview, and then we can get into the weeds.
Okay.
So the spy pole is going to mount, and we'll start with a Garmin Force trolling motor. That's the original Force and the Force Pro. We'll start there, and then we'll get into the other trolling motors as options here in a minute. But assuming I'm sitting there with my Garmin Force or Force Pro, it bolts right to the bottom with a plate, and then it drops in and locks in place. Now I've got my spy pole. And I don't have to connect a 34 or the 360 on it. It's just a spy pole that I can control. You see it right there. That's in this video right here. That's what it is. It's literally just a.
That's this right here. That's it
right there. It's a miniature Garmin Force. Essentially, it's a miniature Garmin Force. It uses the same steering board as the Garmin Force. And so it operates independently of the trolling motor one of two ways. It includes a foot pad with buttons that you can use to steer left, right, like the electric steer left, right, or you can use the Force trolling motor foot pedal to control this. So then what you want to do is, again, continuing just an overview, you can put just the live scope on it. You don't have to have the 360 transducer on the bottom. You can put just your live scope transducer on it. It comes with the mounts for the 32, the 34, and the 62.
Okay, so what are we looking at here? This is the 34?
That's a 34. And
this is the 36. What are they calling it?
They're calling it a GT UHD 360.
GT. Okay, so I have to be careful on names because I know there's like copyrighted names and stuff right here.
So it's a GT 360
okay,
UHD.
That's what this thing is that I haven't seen before. This is what allows you to get the 360 image on it. Now, prior to this, did Garmin even have any sort of 360 stuff?
No,
or was it? Did Humminbird have that market completely cornered?
Humminbird pretty much had it cornered. Lowrance had their Ghost 360, where you can use the 3-in-1 on the bottom of the troll motor on the Ghost to create a 360 image. But this is Garmin's first entry into the market.
I don't know whose this is, but they've already smoked it on the bottom. Anyway,
if I told you, if you knew whose it was, you would know that doesn't surprise you.
Yeah, no, you'll find out who it is because it's the same guy that's in all the videos. So
yeah, we're going to see here in just a second. We'll let the suspense build, and everyone in the audience is probably like, I already know who this is. Oh, look, there he is. So,
okay.
But
this is what we're talking about. This is right here. This is the spy pole, which is basically Garmin's version of an integrated turret that works in combo or independently with the Force trolling motor, or as we might get into later, another trolling motor of your choice.
Correct.
Okay.
So again, trying to keep things clean, stay with just the force for the time being.
Yep.
The cool part about it, one of the coolest features, and if this was the only feature, I would buy this and I would put this on my boat because this is what I've wanted forever, is the ability to put my force trolling motor in spot lock / anchor mode, and then independently control the spy pole, i.e. turret, with the foot pedal itself, the actual trolling motor foot pedal. Not, you can still use the spy pole foot pedal, but the force foot pedal is now what's operating the spy pole while the trolling motor is in anchor mode.
Okay, so what we're seeing right here in this video, if you look in this area right here, you can see the trolling motor is staying in one spot, but if you see this cable moving back and forth, you can see that while the trolling motor is still pointed ahead, the spy pole, which has your transducer on it, is panning back and forth.
Correct. So right now in this video, the trolling motor is in anchor mode. It's sitting there just keeping us in place. And then you can see, if you can see the screen, it is moving way more because he's panning back and forth with a foot pedal, looking around with his live scope.
And that's a separate foot pedal then that's attached. So it's kind of like the foot pedal that I have for my power brakes on the side. It's like, or like your power pole foot pedals, or is this integrated into the foot pedal of the trolling motor?
So with the force trolling motor, you can literally use the actual foot pedal of the force to control the spy pole. And so I would put it in anchor mode, commonly called spot lock. I put it in that mode, and then the spy pole becomes independent. So the trolling motor is going to sit there and move back and forth, and then I use the foot pedal of the trolling motor to control the spy pole to look around.
Okay.
Now, included in the package is the actual foot pedal, the spy pole foot pedal. You could also use that as well if you wanted to, as well as a little gesture remote, which is really, really cool. But so there's multiple ways to control it. But for me, the ability to put my trolling motor in anchor mode and then still use that same foot pedal, that same trolling motor foot pedal that I'm very much used to rocking back and forth, to be able to look around and control my live scope still, that is astronomically the way to go. Like, that feature alone sells me on this.
Okay, so yeah, so layman's terms, now you can, let's say you're facing into the wind, and instead of having, because your transducer is mounted on your trolling motor in whichever way, you're going and then you're panning back and looking at your stuff, and then with the wind and then panning back, I can now sit on where I want to and then pan around the brush, pan around the rock, pan around the drop to where it's basically like I'm live scoping in zero wind.
Correct. So basically, if you were sitting there and you had it in anchor mode, spot lock, whatever you want to call it, and you're facing the wind, your boat's looking this way, I can now use the foot pedal of the trolling motor to turn and look at it over here. Hey, maybe I need to be, the only way to set up on this brush pile is to look straight left. Well, right now, if it's on our trolling motor, we're looking that way, and then we have to kick back to keep us from drifting too far. You're constantly doing this game, as well as I do. Or you have to get downstream, because there's a lot of times we want to be upwind of something and let a bait come in more naturally than coming against the current. And right now you could get there, anchor, and then turn around and look at it sideways that way.
Yeah. So like I said, you can pan it independently, sync it to move with the trolling motor, and target lock it. No, that's a yes for all three of those.
So yes, those are all different modes. So there's the independent, so they call it spy link, or spy sync is what they call it. That is where when the trolling motor is moving, the force is moving, it's moving with it in step, lockstep. Okay. And it's pretty accurate. It's pretty dang accurate. Yes, I can outrun it if I'm all the way to the left or to the right and I hard go left. There's an ever so slight delay, but it catches up to it right on, and it's accurate. I actually was confused thinking that I was actually using the trolling motor mounted transducer. And then he informed me, no, Scott, I've got that one completely disconnected. The only one you're using is the one on the spy pole. That's how accurate it was on the trolling motor. Then, as the listener mentioned, we can take it out of that independent mode or put it into independent mode. We're setting an anchor mode, and then we can use it to look around. And then the spy lock feature is when I see a brush pile out there, I touch that brush pile, I say lock, and then it's going to constantly look, and automatically I don't have to do anything. As a boat drifts around, it's just going to sit there and make constant adjustments to keep on looking at that spot. I can do it via waypoint. I can drop a waypoint in my one view, or I can do it directly on live scope screen.
Okay. Is this the foot pedal that we're talking about right here?
So that's the foot pedal that comes with the spy pole. So if I didn't have a force motor and I just wanted these features, that's the foot pedal I would be using.
And then that would have to be mounted somewhere on your front deck then, and then that's the left and the right for the spy pole.
Correct. And then there's 2 buttons at the top of that you can assign. So like I can assign one of those buttons to be spy, one scan or one view scan. So if I hit that button, it's gonna draw my picture for me, or like if I have a force.
We haven't even gotten to that yet.
No, we haven't even gotten to that yet. But then I can also assign like mine. I know what mine are going to be assigned to. Mine's going to be spy sync because it's going to sync up with my force motor, and then it's going to be the one view scan. That's how I'm going to assign that.
And then that's all Bluetooth?
Yeah, everything is wirelessly connected.
Okay. So then if I'm going with not the force trolling motor, then I'm going to have my power pole buttons here, my power brake buttons here, and my spy pole buttons down there too. So I'll have 3 different sets of buttons. So now I'll literally be doing, what is that? Dance Dance Revolution. Remember that?
Dance Dance Revolution.
Dance Dance Revolution, where you'd be out there dancing on it and be at the arcades.
Hey, there's a whole generation that grew up on Dance Dance Revolution. We didn't know we were training for this for fishing.
Okay, so that is the basics, quote unquote, of the spy pole.
Correct.
Did I jump the? Is that the phrase? Jump the shark? Did I jump the shark there, or is that?
That's the basics. I mean, there's the spy scan feature as well, where you can have it automatically scan for you as you're driving along. That's pretty cool. So spy scan. If I'm driving my trolling motor straight, like I call it the drunk monkey syndrome. If you look at my trails, there's times a year, and you're the same way. We're just out there just driving around chasing those fish, in the over the channels, like when they're out there floating around. We're out there driving, and we're just out there scanning, looking, what we used to do at the console with side imaging, and we're now doing with
it's called speed scoping.
Okay, speed scoping.
This is also the technique that typically throws co-anglers out of the boat.
100% of the time, this is what happens. And it's funny because I tell people, if you're going to walk up to the front of the boat to say something to me, make sure you stay in the center, because you might end up. The other thing,
now you're able to go 10 straight forward, hit that. So while you're going forward, it's going like this for you, to where the boat's not going. You're just going, and it's going for you.
Correct. So you can set the angle, like you can set how much of a sweep. You can set it a full sweep, a short sweep. You can adapt the angle itself to say, hey, this is how much I want you to cover, and the speed of how fast you want that thing to work back and forth. I don't know if it's in this video or not, but there's one of the videos that I was doing, and I outran Justin. He said, I can't scope that fast. What are you doing? Which, I mean, I had it on 10 as fast as it would go. But I'm excited about it. Just a side note, I'm excited about it because the spy scan is going to save a lot of bushings on trolling motors, a lot of wear and tear on.
Yeah, that's where when you have the trolling motor and it's going every time you do it, and then some of the guys who are scopers, yes, it sounded like a dolphin having fun there, but it's that creak. But then that's also what you're seeing some of the scopers that are going with stainless bushings in their trolling motors, so that there's way less, so that there's no play in that, so they're not wearing them out.
Yeah, that's right. And stainless bushings sound great, but something is going to give in that scenario. Yeah. And so this is going to save a lot of that. The other thing with the spy scan is it doesn't just have to be forward. So if I'm driving, let's say, like for me, this time of year, again, referencing this time of year, I'm really excited about that for this time of year, because I'm going to go down the bank, throw a spinnerbait, flipping, whatever, but then I can offset that spy pole to scan out in deeper water. So I don't have to just be forward. I can set it to be starboard or bow, port, starboard. I can even set it to stern, but I'm going to offset it. That's my center, and then scan that way.
Yeah.
And so that's a cool feature. So I can continue looking out of deep water as I'm going down a bank.
Okay, before we get into the one view, a couple questions there. I'm a little confused. Do all these features work if you want to run a force, or if you want to run a Minn Kota trolling motor or anything with it? I know you have that separate foot pedal. Or are some of these features only with the Garmin trolling motor, or are they all applicable?
The only feature you would not have is the syncing feature.
Gotcha.
So you could not operate it in sync with the trolling motor. If you had a different trolling motor, because the spy pole is an independent device, the 360 is on the bottom of it, the live scope is on it, all of those would be in an environment that are available except for the syncing. The syncing is that's why I kind of want to start with the force. So you would not be able to use your Ultrex Quest foot pedal to control the spy pole. So, but yes, the features are available.
All right, we're a half hour in. Let's get to these one view features, because this is I don't even know how to describe this, but this is the stuff that is like, all that stuff to me is like, oh, that's cool. I'm surprised we didn't have it before.
Right.
And it's all, there's a bunch of different really good turrets out there to where you can do, and it just hasn't been convenient, I guess is the word to say it. Like, it's not convenient for me to have a turret for the occasional times when it's windy and I want to stay on one spot, and then I have to move the turret independently of it. And now, with the rules, and anyway, long story short, that stuff is impressive, but not, for lack of a better term, mind-blowing.
Yeah. I agree. There's one thing that I do need to, before we move on, I want to say this. With the syncing, I said the Force and the Force Pro, it will also work with the Garmin Kraken. Now, right now, there's no mount to mount it to the Kraken, but if you use the gunnel mount, it will still sync with the Kraken because it's the same foot pedal. So there's that. One thing that I do need to say right now, and I'll say this again, but there are units you have to have compatible with it. So if you're like an old Ultra 1 user, I'm sorry, you're out of luck. You've got to have at least an Ultra 2. The 8000 series Garmin, the new like 1643, 1243 series units, and the Ultra 2s are the units that are compatible. Also the 9000 series. You can mix and match a little bit, but there's certain features you won't get. Like if you have hey, Scott, I just bought an Ultra 2 from you, I'm going to network that with my Ultra 1s. The Ultra 2 is the one that has to be connected to the spy pole, and you can still see the live scope on your Ultra 1, but you're not going to be able to see the 360 on it. Technology gets left behind because the Ultra 1s haven't had an update in almost 3 years, maybe over 3 years at this point. It's old technology. And so anytime we have new technology, we have to have the current models to do that. So I want to say that because I don't want someone to buy this from me and then they're like, oh, why isn't this working? Well, I've got an old unit. So
okay, that's fair. Great. Mark in Texas, great point there. I think the spy pole will help the older anglers scan for fish better. We're also seeing a resurgence in younger anglers that are using butt seats on the front of the boat, and that's not because they're lazy or their legs are sore. It's because if you kind of combine the Drew Gill show that we had when he was in studio, he really talked about speed and efficiency. And in today's day and age, when they only have 3 hours to scope, he said the more fish that he can put it in front of and increase his percentage chances, the more he can get ahead of the field. So if he can get 15 chances and someone else only gets 10%, and gets 10 chances, and the conversion rate is 70% or 40% or whatever, that equates to an extra fish or two for him. So the faster you can go with, you can pan, which you train your eyes at through time on the water. That's why you have that stable. So now you can go basically 10 high bypass, pan faster, and that's where the seat allows you not to be up there.
Right.
Bambi legs in it, which is why we're seeing 19, 20, 21-year-olds win in major tournaments, Fisher and Naya, that type of stuff up there with the seat so they can move fast and still maintain a stable balance up there. Just a little side note on that.
Yeah, no, 100%. You're right on that.
All right, let's go to the one view features, because this is the stuff. This is the whoa, that's freaking cool stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know how you want to dive into it, but have at it.
Just dive into it. Access the video pull up the one that says, I think, One View Features. I think that's going to be the best video. It's
okay. What are we looking at here on the bottom then?
So that is just a black screen. We've done nothing. I mean, obviously it's a black screen, but we've done nothing. We've not sent it through a scan or anything like that. We've been messing around. I purposely wanted to wait for this. So we're going to talk about this and we're going to send it through a scan. And OneView has multiple modes, and I can get into that. There's continuous, where it's just going to set their scan back and forth. There's automatic, and there's manual. This mode right here is manual. So I initiated a scan that I just said, hey, go draw me a picture. And
so this is 360. This is that transducer that's on the bottom of the spy pole.
That is absolutely correct.
Boom.
So it drew an image right here. And off to the left, I know you've got listeners online, but it's got a 360, the boat icon's in the center, and then right there you just circled, that was a rock pile that we had identified. I believe this was a pipe crossing, like a gas line that went across there. So there's rocks there.
Yep.
And so I said, cool, let's draw that. We did. You can see the hard reflection. It's basically side imaging, right? And so you see the hard return on the hill in front of us there. But now what's going to happen is now we're going to drive around. So the boat icon is actually going to move. This image is going to freeze.
Okay, so this is the image. Let's just pause this right here. This is the boat right in the middle. This is the standard 360 image that we all understand on what it is. It's always where it's straight ahead. It'll show you like where the nose is pointing, and then you can cast your targets. This is what Keith Combs made hundreds of thousands of dollars of in the TTBC when he was one of the first guys to really understand the value of the 360.
Yep.
This was before live scope, to where you could say, oh, there's a little, like I knew the main brush pile was here, but there's a little stop off to the left of it.
Correct.
And there's a couple big ones, and you take a chartreuse powder blue crankbait, bang it off of it, catch a 7-pounder, and say thanks for the truck and the 200K.
Exactly.
And then ask people like me and the media to really downplay how he figured that out.
Right. Yeah. There are no secrets under the water anymore, for sure. But yeah, so that is the icon.
Okay.
And now, instead of having to continuously update this to, a slow ping that says, okay, I'm getting closer, this actually allows me to drive to it. And
so this is not spinning. It's just staying straight.
Yeah,
it's just staying there.
It literally took a scan, and then it went back to just idle. And this is a good time to throw in there. This is the reason why, is because the 360 is physically connected to the pole. It's not spinning independently of the pole. So when you do a scan, the live scope is going to follow that pole. That is I don't know if I want to call it a negative, but that is something to be aware of. Now, if you notice, it didn't take long to scan it, so you don't lose control for very long. It's well worth it to draw this image. And so you're seeing the boat icon. We've now left the center.
It was right here. Now it's over here. This stuff is black here because this wasn't part of the scan that you took the screenshot of. But this is the rock pile that was over to the left, is now here because the boat has moved closer towards it.
That is absolutely correct. And if you notice in there, you can see the red triangle. That's your live scope area. So that's your live scope area that you're actually covering on the 360.
So you're driving to your 360 image.
Yeah, you're driving around on your 360 image. Imagine the way I'm trying to explain it to people is, imagine your parking lot of where you work and being able to get 10, 20 feet above it and then just drive around on it. That's what you're doing. Like, you just look down on it.
I wanted to go drive to this junk pile of trees that are on this rock pile over here, then I can drive over to it. Now, while I'm doing that, I can also be, this is wild. I can also be live scoping this now. So if this is 120 feet out, now I can live scope it at 50, 60 feet out or whatever. And I know what I'm live scoping. I'm not just getting my 0 degree, 3 degree beam that I'm trying to piece together what it is and just know there's junk there. I know when I see that when I see it fuzzy and jump up right here, that it's the beginning of this rock pile. And I know that 20 feet past that there's a ledge right here based on this shadow on the backside, and that there's a drop off on the backside of it.
That's exactly right. That's it. You're learning. You're learning. I'm getting through to you. I like it.
So is this a shallow water feature? Like, my question would be off the hopper, Scott. Like, let's say I've got a rock pile, but it's in 25 feet of water and it's blowing 10, 15 miles an hour. What do I spot lock and then let it get an image and then take a screenshot? Or is it going to be the crispest and the cleanest, obviously, and dead calm when you can get a picture where you're not moving and then drive around? Is this a perspective, like 12, 15 feet or less, or does this work in deep water too?
I haven't had it in 100 foot. I'm not going to act like I've sat there and been able to go take it to 100 feet. However, we did go out and play with it in 25, 30 foot of water, and it was still a really, really good image. Think of it like a site imaging. If you follow us, I talk about different frequencies and things like that for different water depths. And so as I move out to deeper water, I might have to adjust my frequency because this is running a megahertz frequency. It's a high frequency, your best image. But that has only so much depth it can basically penetrate. So if I get out there in 40, 50 foot of water, I'm going to have to lower my frequency to still get a really good image. And the Humminbird 360 is the same way. But no, 25, 30 foot of water is nothing for this thing. It's still not a big deal. Now, what you're going to see is in the center of the boat, when you make your initial scan, you might see a round black spot, because that's the water column. Excuse me. That's the water column that it may not be able to actually see directly below, if that makes sense. Because there is a little bit of a conical angle to it, but the way it scans, that's going to be very, very minimal. With the different depths you're going to get into. So This is not just a shallow water where, hey, I've got to be in 10 to 15 feet. Obviously, the more stable, and the same thing with site imaging. We've all been in windy conditions and we're imaging and we get these little waves in our line, plain and simple. Guess what? If this thing is rocking back and forth, it's going to be tougher to get an image. It just is, just because of it's just reporting back and recording what it sees.
Does this make any sense, this comment, if the beam is anything like the compass, it's way off target?
Yes, and I'm glad you addressed that, because you are absolutely 100% correct. I take that beam icon off the live scope because it is not accurate. And that was one of the things I really, really pushed on this. Like, I really tested that, because I'm like, dude, how's this going to work? If it's anything like the compass, as your listener mentioned, this is going to be useless. And I was utterly shocked and surprised at how good it was. And the reason why, I will tell you this, is because think about where the compass on the live scope actually is using. It's trying to use the compass inside the water. The spy pole, however, the live scope is just following its compass. It's actually got, heading sensor built into it. There's an external heading sensor. You can use the GPS 24XD. Like, it can use an external that actually has sight of the sky. And so your accuracy is way different. It's way better. It actually is functional, as opposed to, as he mentioned, the beam icon circle. Matt, every time we calibrate your compass, we've got that circle that pops up in the top right of your screen. Yeah. That's what he's referring to. Okay. And that is not accurate. And so I was worried about that, and it's not a concern at all.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you addressed that comment, because I want to address this comment Rajva said. It's new stuff that's out that is for sale, and the whole point for all these companies is for people to purchase it so that they make a living off of it. Every single bait, everything in any industry, this is like American capitalism. That's literally the definition of it. And I'm make my living off sponsors of BTL that pay me to promote their products. Scott makes a living off of these companies that promote it, and people purchase their product. That's the way things work, regardless of what industry you're in. If you're in a pickleball deal and you watch a thing on pickleball, they're going to be trying to sell you the shoes, the paddle, and the shorts to beat Edna in the mixed doubles next week down at the YMCA. That's just the way this thing works. I'm just saying, in all honesty, you would know this, Scott. These are the exact same damn questions that I would be asking you off air. Yeah. And I we had this talk before. I work with companies that I have open relationships with that I can ask these questions. So instead of just running an ad on that, I take advantage of it. And you literally are one of the few people in the world that knows how all this stuff works. So I'm not trying to hide or slide anything over. Do I expect everybody who watches this to go out and spend however much this costs, which we will get to? Absolutely not. But there's a percentage that have no desire to buy it, don't want to, but just want to know what's going on. There's a percentage of guys that will have it on their boats as their competitive fishermen. And there's a big percentage of guys who've never tournament fished, don't have a desire to tournament fish, but want to have the latest and greatest tech. I'm amazed every time I go into the bass tank, there's always someone I'm like, damn, whose boat's that? And you're like, some guy that fishes in Texas.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, what's very on that point, the majority of my customers start the conversation with, I don't tournament fish.
Yeah.
Tournament fishermen actually represent a small, overwhelmingly smaller portion of my business than the average consumer. And so, but the average consumer, they like to fish, and they like to have their toys, and yes, I'm in business. To your point, I'm in business to make money. I'm not going to apologize for that. Like, I've got to have a job. But I do believe, and any of my customers that have talked to me know that when I talk to them, I say, do not spend $1 with me until you understand what I'm talking about. Because I want educated. I don't want people to say, I bought this because Scott said so. I want people to say, I bought this because I thought this was cool. Scott explained it, and I knew I had to have it. And so, some people just take your money. That's just not us.
And then there's guys like Cam who says he just wants to know what kind of tech is going to beat him this summer.
Exactly. And then look, there's guys that have called me and said, hey, what is this? And then when I tell them, they're like, that's not for me. Cool. Totally respect it. And there's other guys that call and they weren't going to buy it until we talked about it and they understood what it was. They're like, oh, I got to have that. And so it's not for everybody. When we did the Power Pole Vision, hey, it's not for everybody, but we want you to know what's out there. That way you make an educated decision for your own fishing needs.
And it's fascinating. So one more time, this is one of the features of the OneView. What is it called? What is the actual name of this feature where you can drive around your 360 image?
There's not an actual name for that. It's just how the OneView works.
Oh, okay.
So I do want to address something because I'm sure people are going to read it and say, wait, Scott didn't go back into that. So that OneView has 3 modes. Right. So this one is in manual, meaning we send it through a scan. It goes back idle and it doesn't do anything until we initiate another scan. So I could drive completely off the image. We started with a black screen in the 360. And if I drive away from this, we'll get a black screen again. Then there's the continuous where it will just sit there and continuously redraw. But my live scope at that point is essentially useless. Now, the no scope derbs, this is when you use continuous. It's just going to be continuously updating. And then there's my favorite feature that's called automatic. And so basically it goes through one scan, it takes the picture and it stops. And then as you get closer and closer to that black edge, I believe it's about 20 feet in my testing is what it looked like. It'll boom, redraw a picture to keep you up to date. So then do this one scan, it stops and goes back to idle and you continue driving around on it.
Wow. All right, let's get to the OneView view. I do not understand what the hell I'm looking at here.
This is so fun. I can't wait to play with this more.
It looks cool. I put it in the thumbnail, but I don't understand it.
All right, so pause it right here. So go back. So this right here that you're seeing is what we expect the 360, right? Like we're looking from a bird's eye view, looking down. This is how we're used to using 360. And then if you advance this just a little bit forward, you're going to see that I'm going to push a magic button. All right, now pause it right here. Now what this did, instead of looking from the top down, it allows me to kind of see my 360 from the side, kind of like a side imaging. Think of it like a side imaging, but we're kind of standing back. But then you can see your actual live scope screen overlaid. So you see the bottom, the orange down there, that is your live scope. That is what your live scope would look like.
So all this is scopable water where I'm circling.
And
this
as we
is the bottom.
And I think I mentioned in this video, as we're sitting there, a fish swam into it, and you can see it plain as day. I'm really excited to play with more of this because there's some things I want to see if I can do to see how usable this is. It's a really cool view. And what's interesting is the gentleman that talked about the compass not being accurate, look at where the live scope is laying on top of this. You see that the right there it's too small for me to see, but up close.
This
Yeah,
drop
right there.
right here.
Yep.
Oh my God. Okay, this makes sense. I was thinking it was like hatched together. So what you're doing is this is your 360 image. Now your live scope is here. This is your boat icon right here.
Yep.
So it's showing you that, however, you don't have the feet. So 30 feet out in front is the drop. Then it's showing it to you on your live scope. So it's actually, you're basically live scoping over your 360 image, but it's adding three-dimensional water column to it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So as I'm looking at this, I'm standing. So I have to flip this in my head when I'm using it, though, because it's not out in front of me. It's going to look right or left to, not left to right, but it looks like a computer screen because your computer screen can't go forward in front of you because it's still just a screen. So in my head, I have to realize that even though the screen is this way, I'm casting directly in front of the boat, not out to the side.
So let's break this down. Let's start with a live scope. And so if you were looking at this as a live scope screen, your transducer's in the top left. And the further to the right you go, the further away from the transducer you're going, right? Like I think we all have that in our heads now. You follow what I'm saying there?
Yes.
Okay. So if I was just looking at my live scope, I say, okay, top left is close to me, top right, bottom right is the furthest point away. Okay, got that. So I know left to right is there. Now at the bottom of that, I'm now putting my 360 and I'm seeing my 360 from the top down. And what I'm doing is I'm sliding it underneath that image. So what you're doing is I'm seeing my live scope from side to side like this, but then what I'm doing is I'm actually going and sliding my 360 image right there. So if I took this away, 360 would just be blank and flat and I could see it from the side. But then I'm taking my live scope and so basically it's allowing me to see what is left and right. So if I'm looking at my live scope straight on, there's stuff out here to my left and right that I can't see. Now this view shows me hey, there might be a tree over here. My live scope is right here. There might be a tree over here that I need to pan around and look at in real time.
Gotcha. Yeah, sorry, I didn't know you guys couldn't see my mouse. That's me. Hopefully that didn't ruin everything because I've been very active with my mouse. Underwater, this is a great peek. Underwater map on bottom.
That's a good. I think that's a good thought process to kind of put it together. Like I said, I am really excited to play with more features of this to see what enhancements I can make with it. But
there's definitely a learning curve with this. So like scope was the big learning curve as to what you're looking at, to where it's like, we're all, here's my thought on this. We're all experts in something, right, Scott? Whether it's your job, it's your hobby, it's your something. We're all experts in something that you do. And when you're doing it, you're enjoying it. You're not thinking about the process. It's like, I always go back to whenever I played hockey, if I knew I was about to get demoted and they'd move me from like center to winger, I would always be in the game thinking, get to the board, stop the ring, chip off the glass, out, make sure I'm in the line, pick up the third guy. Are we running a 3-2 or a 1-2-1? And whenever I did that, massive slump. Yeah. When I was just on the ice playing instinctually, I was doing all of those things, but not consciously thinking about it, just lighting a lamp left and right. It's the same thing in fishing here. When you're thinking about your process and your decision making and all of that, you're not fishing to your capabilities. When you're thinking about how you have to live scope and moving the trolling motor and where you're casting to it, go watch a Fisher and I, go watch a Dylan Nutt, who, by the way, will be on BTL at 8:30 a.m. Central Time tomorrow, the reigning Bassmaster Classic champ from the Bass Nation, live on BTL tomorrow. They're not looking at where they're casting. They're not looking at their distances. They are literally reacting to their environment without any outside. This stuff here will take hours of screen time to get to where you're using. This is not something that I would want to put on a week before a big tournament. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Like I got to play with this. I got to be on the water with it. I'm one of the few people outside of, Garmin and the professionals that have actually had a chance to dissect this.
And I'm telling you right now, I think we end up getting 21 videos out of this, and trying to be educational to show all these features. And I'm telling you right now, I've got probably another 20 or 30 more that I want and need to make, just because I didn't have enough time to do it. Like there's that many features with it. Now, I don't want everyone to get overwhelmed, because it's one of those things where, hey, don't go out and try to learn SpyLink, SpyLock, SpyScan all in one day. You're not going to do it. Say, prime example, going way back, I did not have a spinning rod on the deck of my boat. I didn't own one. And I got tired of co-anglers wearing me out in the back of the boat with a stinking spinning rod. So I said, I'm going to go buy a spinning rod. And I went and bought me a spinning rod. And I said, all right, I own one. Well, then it stayed in the rod locker. And then eventually it made it to the deck of my boat. I'm like, okay. Well, then I said, you know what? I've got to learn this. And what I did is I took every rod off my deck, out of my boat, and I went to the lake with one spinning rod. This is how I'm going to learn how to catch fish. Fourth cast in, I caught a 6-pounder. And then I caught a 4.5. And I ended up putting 20 pounds in the boat that day on a spinning rod. And I said, maybe there's something to it. But I would have never gotten there if I hadn't forced myself to just go, I'm going to go learn this. And, this is one of those things where, even if you don't take the entire day, but hey, I've got this new thing, whatever it is, whether it's this, or you're new to forward facing, or you're new to side imaging, or you're just new to graphs in general, say, I'm going to take an hour, hey, if it's a topwater bite first thing in the morning, go get your topwater bite. But before you put it on the trailer, say, I'm going to dedicate an hour to learning something new, to going through my unit, to doing something that I've just put off. That's how I approach it. That's how I want everyone else to approach it.
Get called out for not having it. John said that's just dumb as hell.
Well, this
was times have I told you that since I've known you, Scott?
This was pre-live scope. Okay, this was pre-live scope.
The spinning rod was way more effective. I got made fun of it so much and how close. I mean, dude, I caught him before live scope on the spinning rod. I haven't caught him since everybody went to the spinning rod.
So I can admit when I'm wrong. I was wrong. That's what this is. This is me saying, hey, I was wrong and I learned.
That's how I became friends with Austin. He said, hey man, can you teach me how to do your dink and dunk stuff? Because like I don't know how to like catch 13 pounds. He's like, either like catch them or zero. And I was like, yeah. Then I got the boat with him, and then boom, live scope off to the races. And now I'm still dinking and dunking, and everybody's cast, catch, counting, and mountain.
Yeah. So I'm just saying we all have to be self-aware and learn from our mistakes. I'm getting roasted here, and that's okay. I accept it. It. But I learned. Like, again, this is hey, we all have to learn sometimes and say, hey, I recognize I was getting beat by something, and instead of being mad and saying no co-anglers, I could have made a rule that said, hey, co-anglers, no spinning rods in my boat. Now,
like I did with the Carolina rig.
Yeah, and then, but my point is, like I said, no, I need to learn this technique. I need to do this. I need to evolve, because if you stay stagnant in anything you do, you're going to get beat. The old adage, adapt or die, and that's what it is. And so I changed. I got, now, I mean, that set off me, if I'm ridiculous if nothing, Matt, and I went from one spinning pole to like 6 in the next, 2 or 3 weeks. And then now I don't even know how many I have. It's
okay. So there's this one that we haven't talked about, and this is another split screen, but I think it helps identify the spy lock. You're going to have to bear with us at the beginning of this video, because there's some very disturbing imagery in the top of the screen. It's about to happen right now. Now we're done with that. But okay, what are we looking at here?
So first of all, I'm going to pause right there, because if anybody thinks winning the Classic changed Justin Hamner, that right there shows you everything. This is on camera, off camera. I'm like, dude, I just wanted to get a good video. And he ruins it. He just flat ruins it. But I love him to death, and I don't want him to change. So, okay. All right. So this video right here, you can see out there. I can't see my screen isn't big enough to see the distance, but
you've got it set at 100 or 90 feet.
Okay. So I'm going to advance, and you're going to see the crosshairs, like where I touch the screen right here. And that's a log. It's like a log jam right here. And I basically touched it, and then there's a crosshairs that appears, and I touch that as well. That puts me in spy lock. So now you see that has not changed.
Hold on, I'm going back to the beginning.
Yeah, let me start over here because I want to explain this better. So I'm getting ready to touch the screen, and you're going to see the crosshairs come on it. So there's a crosshairs, where I've touched the laydown, and I want everyone to recognize. Look at where the boat position is at now. Look at the bank up there to the right of Justin. Okay, so I'm now going to instigate, or I'm going to put this into.
Oh, trust me, this show is instigating.
It's very much instigating, but I'm going to put it in spy lock. So now it's in spy lock, and now Justin is going to take the boat and watch the boat is changing.
But you can still see the log jam.
It's still, because the spy pole is now independently looking over at that log jam. We moved from one side to the other. That, literally changed the nose of the boat all the way around with a trolling motor. And the spy pole, just as we went away, just continued to adjust to keep looking at that particular.
So you're facing this way, and the spy pole's facing back this way because you tapped it and said, "Stay on the log jam, please."
Yep, that's exactly right. So if you've got you can do that directly on your live scope screen, or let's say you had your one view, your 360, and you said, "Hey, here's a brush pile." You could. Like if you had a waypoint out there, you could actually touch the waypoint and spy lock onto that waypoint.
What about a fish?
You could do it on a fish, but as soon as that fish swims, it's not going to track it. That is not there yet. Do I think that's coming one day? I probably, because it's just maintaining intensity. Right now, they're basing this off of GPS coordinates, but in my mind, I don't know why you couldn't base it off intensity of return. The sonar signal, the box knows that in order to be able to display it on the graph, in certain colors, it's saying, "Hey, I've got a stronger return, so this is going to be brighter," right? I don't know why you couldn't say, "Hey, let's say I'm getting a return of 90%. Maintain this in at least 85 to 90%, and so be able to track it around." If anybody can do it, I think Garmin probably has that capabilities. We'll see. I don't know. I'm spitballing. Please, I am not saying this is actually coming, but I'm sure one of their engineers going, "I wonder if I could." And, whether there sees a light of day, I don't know. I mean, you want to talk about heads exploding. If that ever happened, it would be, yeah. How fun would that be?
That's pretty much it. I mean, we did it in an hour, right? I mean, pretty much it. There's a bunch of more little details and stuff, but as a whole, that is the crux of what you're looking at. If you want to listen to these videos, you can go to the Bass Tanks Facebook page. They're on the Facebook page, on the Bass Tanks YouTube. They're not under videos. They're under the shorts or under the reels on the videos, and it kind of goes through all of that. You can blow it up. You can watch it yourself on your phone, on your TV, whatever. Yeah. Let's get to the elephant in the room, Scott. How much does this stuff set you back?
All right. So the spy pole without the 360 comes in two lengths, 42 and 49 inch. The 42 inch would be what we would recommend for, say, a Garmin Force 50, Ultrex 45, like your shorter, more standard bass boat. You're looking at $2,000 for that.
Just for the pole.
Just for the pole. You're going to put your live scope transducer on here. This is not.
So there's no LVS 36 that came out. There's no LVS 92. There's not any new. It's still the 34. No. Okay.
It's still the 34. It will fit the 32, the 34, and the 62. The mounts are included. You're going to get the foot pad, the spy pole foot pad that comes with it. You're going to get one of the gesture remotes. We'll even talk about that, but it's a cool little remote that you literally rotate like this and you can steer it around.
I hate remotes.
Yeah, I do too, but this one was actually kind of cool. My crappie guys are going to love the gesture remote because it actually clips onto the rod, and then you could, like, as you're single dipping, you can push the button, and as you rotate it, it's going to steer with it. Just wait for your crappie ventures. You may say, "Okay, Scott, I have to have this," because you could actually aim. Anyway, Spy pole only 42 inch is $2,000. The 49 inch is 2,200, and then the 360 add-on is $1,000. Now, whether you buy the whole thing together right now, hey Scott, I want the 42 inch with the 360, that's $3,000, or you say I'm going to start with a spy pole for $2,000. You can add you're not losing any money by adding the 360 later, right? So it's not like you have to buy it.
The 360 is the coolest part of the whole thing.
Oh, it is. It absolutely is. But I'm just saying that, look, let's be honest. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and lie and say this stuff isn't
Can I just get the 360?
I mean, you can buy just the transducer. How you're going to use it, that's a whole other question. I'm sure somebody's going to come up with some mount to try to mount it to the bottom of a trolling motor and try to make it work. But just
so right now it's $3,000.
Yeah, $3,000 for the full package for the 42 inch.
And then you keep the same black box that you had for your live scope, the same LVS 34. It has the mounts in it. It comes with the foot pedal, and then the units that it works with are the same ones that you have to have upgraded. Like what Garmin units? Like what's the earliest version that it works smoothly on?
So what in the GPS map family units, which is like your 8000s, your 1243, 1643. Mm-hmm. Think of it, guys, if it'll run the GT36, the GT56, it's pretty much going to work with the 360. The EchoMap family, it's got to be the Ultra 2, the 93 SV UHD 2, or the new Ultra 166, which is the 16-inch version of the EchoMaps. Those are your compatible units, as well as the new 9000 series.
If I want to keep my Minn Kota and drive around the 360 image, can I do that?
Yes. Yeah.
If I want to keep, I'm trying to get this in my head because I like my Minn Kota. I love my micro adjusting, the way it feels. It's like an old friend out there as I catch my 13 pounds for 65th place. But the features that I'm losing by not having the force, just that again. So I can put a spy pole on a Minn Kota.
So I want to make sure that I'm very clear on this. Right now, there is no bracket for the Minn Kota. However, I am working with a company that you know very well to make an adapter plate so it mounts to it.
And Garmin does that intentionally, in my opinion, off of it to make it a little difficult to throw it on another trolling motor when you can just do it on the compatible Garmin trolling motor, because in their perfect world as a for-profit company, they want you to use everything in unison, just like Minn Kota wants you to use Humminbird.
Right. And that's it. It's no different than Johnson Outdoors with their 360. Hey, we're not going to make a bracket for the Garmin.
Anyway, so that is in the works then. So I can do all that, but I am going to lose some features.
The biggest feature that you're going to lose is the syncing ability with the trolling motor, where it will not follow the trolling motor.
Gotcha.
And then therefore you cannot control the spy pole with the trolling motor foot pedal.
So I can't spot lock and have it stay on the thing.
No, you can. You would be able to spot lock. You would be able to spot lock, and then you could spy lock. But when you're in spot lock, now you're going to use the included spy pole foot pad, that little square thing.
Gotcha. Instead of the foot pedal.
That's correct.
So it's going to add another foot pedal too.
Okay. Yeah. Which you're going to. I'll be honest with you. I'm going to have that foot. I've got a Force. I will still have that foot pedal up there because I want those two hot buttons.
Yeah.
I want those two hot buttons. I've already mentioned that. Hey guys, because there's so many features. I've got contacts at Garmin, and I said, hey, we've got this spy pole foot pad, but I've got a Garmin Force trolling motor. I don't need the pad. I don't need the 2 extra buttons. Let's make those programmable so I can make 4 features as hot buttons. And they just kind of said, hey, Scott, we can do anything with software. Give us time and we'll see.
Okay. So they're not, this wasn't one of those deals where they were like, you can have all this with a $6,000 graph that it's the only one that it's compatible with.
Correct.
So you can have what they just came out with. And I'm going to say, I'm not even going to use the word only because it's still a crap load of money. Yeah. But when it's all said and done, $3,500 because they're going to have to buy the mount for it and that type of stuff. Less than $3,500, everything we just went over with today, assuming that you currently have you have a black box, the compatible Garmin screen and an add-on.
if you've already got a live scope system and you're just wanting to add this to it,
Yeah.
you're looking about $3,000, you know, as long as you have that compatible unit, you know. And basically think of current units. If I could go buy that unit today, and it will run the GT56. And when I say buy it today, I mean brand new. If I could go to Garmin's website and buy that unit brand new and it will run the GT56, then that's going to be compatible. And what I mean by this, guys, the GPS map users we can buy them with like a 1643 is a very popular 16-inch GPS map. But that one will not work with the 360 because it has no sonar. So we do the 1643 XSV, which basically allows me to do a side imaging transition.
Like, guys, I'm not oblivious to the fact that, you know, on the last one we talked about a couple $1,000 power pole unit that comes out, and then I had $3,000 power pole unit that came out, and then I had Josh Douglas on, and we talked about all of the three major types of mappings that involve buying a $200+ card and then running it on either that power pole, what is that, the View, is that what it's called?
The Vision,
the Power Pole Vision, or an iPad, which also runs $1,000. So I did all the math. You're in over $600 just on the chips, and then $100+ on the subscriptions. If you want to do the Navionics and the Lake Masters and the C Maps and the Platinum and the Gold and the Diamond versions of all that, and then you have your trolling motors and your black boxes and I get it. It's wild when you think about it. And, you know, I would say most of the diehard tournament guys do this in steps.
Yeah.
With one, it's, you know, I'm not saying, hey, this is what you need to compete. This is what you have to, this is an information show that shows you what's out there. You know, there are Porsches and Maseratis and Bentleys and Mercedes. Like, I can go buy a freaking Raptor. I can upgrade to a GMC Denali, all that. Just because it's out there doesn't mean that I'm I got the LT 2500. But some guys want to have a Denali.
Yeah. Some
guys want to freaking tow with a diesel Ranger, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, but it's what's available.
Yeah. That's it. You know, this stuff is expensive. Like, again, I deal with it every day. I see that it costs money, and it's not for everybody. You know, the average consumer, a lot of guys are doing this in steps. Even you said that the tournament anglers, a lot of my consumers doing it in steps. Hey, I'm going to do this now, and then, you know, 6 months, a year, I'm going to upgrade again. And, you know, I'm going to add this other piece of it. And that's totally fine. Like, you know, if you come in and spend, you know, $500 with me, or you spend $5,000, I'm happy. You know, come be my customer, because this is a good point right here. It said there's much more advanced sonar out there, right? Mm-hmm. I can confirm to you without a doubt that every one of these companies, and I'll just use them all because I don't want to tip anything off, because it's not really tipping anything off, but basically, that we could make a forward-facing sonar transducer that could see 200 feet and be crystal clear. The problem with that transducer, that technology exists, but that transducer alone would probably be $10,000 to $15,000 at retail. And yes, you're still gonna have people that are gonna figure out how to go buy that, but there's a point where it has to be consumable by the masses, right?
Yeah, that's happened in the offshore fishing world. They're spending upwards $50,000 to $100,000 on 360 radar. That is basically, the way I understand it, it's underwater radar that basically finds the billfish within a half mile, and then they drive to it and troll for it. And it is a hot button topic in the sailfish, the bill fishing community as well, because you're seeing more and bigger fish. I don't understand it. I'm not trying to speak expertly on it, but I watch all that stuff on YouTube because I find it fascinating. I watch the Bad Company stuff.
Yeah.
And but it's almost six figures to have one absolutely rigged out.
100%. And, you know, there's a lot of this technology that's been out for a while, and you have the transducer, then you've got to have the software package run it. And then you literally do have a computer. that is translating the data in real time. And there comes in a dollar figure. And, like the best transducer, I'm a nut. I like watching the History Channel, the Discovery Channel. I love watching them go out there and scan for shipwrecks. And of course, I'm trying to dissect them. Like, are you doing this right? And then you see the images they're getting, and they have these towfish. These towfish are massive. They're having to use a crane to drop them in the water. And like, hey, this is $1 million piece of equipment, and they're not getting any images, in my opinion, better than what we're getting, except they're just deeper. And they're massive. And so it's like, okay, cool. That's seeing 300 feet down, and it's seeing the floor bottom, but they're towing it behind the boat because it's huge. Imagine that I could tell someone, hey man, I can show you a rock. I can show you rock piles that the size of your thumb, your thumbnail, that you can pick out each individual one. But that's going to cost you $100,000 to put on the back of your bass boat. No one's going to buy that. Yeah, there's one or two guys, okay, but that's not consumable to the masses. And even though this stuff is expensive, there's people smarter than me that have access to analytics that I don't have access to at these companies that say, hey, we can make money by selling this product. The consumers will buy this. My personal opinion, what I think is going to happen with, like, say, the spy pole, I think this is a delayed, I won't say delayed, but more of a steady adaptation, where people are, don't get me wrong, I've had a lot of people that want to buy it, and the moment I get in stock, they're going to take it. But I think this is something I'm going to see over the next year or two as people, adapt it, as opposed to a new XL transducer, whenever Garmin releases their new, and eventually Garmin's going to release a new live scope transducer, no idea when, but eventually, it's going to happen, right? It's going to happen. That will be a rabid, come and get it mentality. It's going to be a spike. I think the spy pole, for example, is going to be a little bit more of a steady climb as opposed to just a huge spike. I may be wrong, but based on what I see, I think that's what it's going to be.
Will the Garmin Pro with the old Echo Map work with just the pole, no 360?
No, it will not. You're going to have an Echo Map Ultra 2.
That's what I was going to say.
So you're learning.
No, I wasn't going to say that. I kind of liken this also to, I'm an old man now. I walk around the Walmart, and you go back by the tech department, and they've got 80-inch TVs for $350 now, and you're like, dude, like, I remember when those things first came out, and you always had like that one friend that you like to go over to their house because their dad had spent $5,000 on a freaking 80-inch TV, and now they're literally like $300-$400, and they're all smart TVs. And
they're better than what I've got a TV that is now 11 years old. It survived a tornado, believe it. It didn't survive it. I did a little finagling to it to get it to work. But I remember when I bought it, it was so frustrating because I had put off buying it. And I was just doing the old sock drawer where I was just putting cash in a sock drawer. And I said, whenever I can't stand anymore, whatever money I got in there, that's the TV I'm going to buy. And I remember I walked into the old store, and boom, I said, this is what I'm buying. Everyone's like, oh, wow. Get it home. 5 months later, it goes through a tornado. You want to talk about just a gut punch. Great. Mm-hmm. But what I paid for that TV, I could walk in and buy now. I could buy that same TV or a better TV for probably the loose change in my stinking truck. And it's very, very frustrating to me because I'm like, I know what I paid for that. Now, the fact that it survived, 13 plus years at this point is I probably got my money's worth of it. But it's just technology, Prime example, I'll just use this. Lowrance, the Active Target 2 is on sale right now. Well, they released the XL. I would be willing to bet that that's going to be the new price for the Active Target 2. Because the price is going to come down because they've got a new thing. I suspect that price is going to stay put. Don't know for sure, but I suspect if Scott needs to make a bet, Scott's going to make a bet that money's going to stay, that's going to stay at that price because there's something new. And guess what? These companies, the only way these companies stay in business is by innovating, by coming out with something new. If Lowrance had said, you know what, we're good with the original LSS1 structure scan, the HDS Gen 1 with a structure scan box. You think Lowrance would still be around today? They wouldn't. If Johnson Outdoors had said, you know what, we're good. Our Fortrex trolling motor is awesome. And it was a tank. That old motor was a tank. I still got one, a used one that I kept forever. And I have no doubt I could put it on my boat today and it would take off and work just fine. But it had no features. It was just a cable drive trolling motor. But if they had stopped there, do you think they would still sell as many Minn Kotas today? No, they wouldn't. And, Garmin's the same way. If Garmin would have stopped with a 32 or not made the moves. And look, Garmin was behind the 8-ball when they started. When they started making a push in the Marine, they were behind. Everybody knows that. Well, they made a concerted effort to jump into the Marine and try to jump ahead. But if they stopped, if any of them stopped, you're going to get left behind. Yeah. That is in any industry, and especially in this world.
Listen, I get it, but when you're looking at you're in the boat with a top 50 guy in the world in Justin Hamner, and I think it gets a little bit skewed because of the relatability and accessibility of the top pros in the world. But if you compare it to racing, which I don't know the ins and outs of it, but the way that I look at it is I got a dirt track that's just down the road here in Shawnee, as opposed to Talladega and the NASCAR, the top level. Yeah, it's still racing. Yeah, you're still going around the track, but the guys that are at that dirt track, to compete at that top level with what they're doing, it costs a lot of money, and it's the top guys, and the companies want those guys to be using the best and to highlight it, and there's a trickle down effect in it. So what I see in fishing is a lot of guys trying to compare dirt track racing to NASCAR because it's still going around it. But listen, there's a lot of the NASCAR guys like a Tony Stewart that loves to go down and do the dirt track racing. There's a lot of dirt track guys that are trying to get up to NASCAR. It's find what you're happy with and freaking do that. If you love the feel of just a dunk and have no idea what's next to that log on the Arkansas River, go do that. Do what's happy with you. Don't get upset just because something is out there.
Yeah.
It's not worth getting upset over that stuff. I think it's badass and cool to see exactly what's out here. Yeah. Me personally, is there a part of me that, I talk to guys that are on the BPT and the Elite Series that I respect the hell out of. And there's guys that are scared of where the future's going. There's also guys that are excited of where the future's going. There's guys that are all over the map on this. And obviously based on the climate that we're in right now with social media and the views and the YouTube and everyone have a platform, including me, BTL, we just have a platform. And, it's not like I had to pass a test to be a part of BTL. I started doing it. And Mark hired me when I was 21. He's a UPS guy and got into it, but it's toxic. It feels like there's elements of it that are toxic. And I don't think that it has to be.
Yeah.
At all. I don't think that the technology itself is bad or toxic. What's interesting is what the organizations will do with it, how it will go down the map, and they'll cross that bridge when they get there. But in every other sport that has involved technology, you have seen that transition and are seeing that transition as well. I mean, look at the technology changes and jumps in college baseball when it comes to the aluminum bat and the 5 and the 8 ounce drops and the Easton synergies that came out and the side cores and the stuff where they set all the records back in the year, and then they went back and adjusted it, and then they had record lows. And then I haven't eclectic. I watch a lot of weird stuff, Scott. And now you have a race. You have a race of bat companies and smaller bat companies that are now competing with the bigger ones because they're able to create a product that circumnavigates the test, that makes it legal, but still has its same pop to where you're seeing ball speeds of 120 miles off the bat, whereas, it's illegal and it passes the test, but the average one is 105 miles off the bat. And it's in every single thing that you're looking at. Look at the hockey stick industry now. I mean, if you want to be competitive in a composite hockey stick, it's a $300 to $350 stick. When those synergies first came out, the side cores the Synergy grips. I mean, they were $120 and people went nuts over it in that. I mean, I was still using a freaking wooden Bauer at the time. And, my dad was like, there ain't no way in hell I'm getting you that. But then, you get up and you get into high school and stuff, then you have it, then you go. Now, then they had the Sidecore technology that had foam in the blade that made it feel more like a wood stick. And then they had a lower kick point in it. And then they start like, it's that in every single thing. The only reason you're fired up about it right now is because it's in the industry that you love. Like, there's a bunch of hockey dads that are like, my God, I'm going through $8,000 in sticks. And when a defenseman on the other team chops their kid's stick in half, they're having a meltdown on the glass.
Yeah. We're at a really interesting spot in the industry, in my opinion. Because let's just call a spade a spade. I'm just going to address something that I witnessed. I'm in my 40s, and I'm not in the sunset of my career by any stretch of imagination, but I'm not in the beginning of my career either. I'm kind of in that middle ground, and for me, what I see is this tearing apart of the industry, and I don't like that, because what is the message? What is the actual message? If you're a 40-year-old, a 50-year-old Elite Series guy, or just average fisherman, what is your message? If you could give one message out there to anybody that's going to listen, what is it? And then what is your message to the younger guys coming up, that are just starting, whether they're going to be tournament guys or not? They're just interested in fishing. What is your message? And if your message is one of negativity and beating them down and telling them they can't catch a fish without technology, you're basically telling that kid, go back inside and play the video. These are the same people that are probably upset that the kid is in there playing video games in his mom's basement. Okay, so for me, let's say I agree with you that it's video game fishing. I'll give you that. If I agree to that, I'd rather them be doing that outside than inside four walls in the dark.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone could disagree. There are a lot of, it is video game fishing. You catch a lot of fish that you would never have the ability to catch, exist, target, put a bait in front of without the technology. You cannot deny that fact.
But that's what makes it fun. That I don't go out to go fishing to not catch a fish. I enjoy being on the water, but I go out there to catch fish, and I want to catch as many fish and as big a fish as I possibly can. And guess what? I will catch a bass. I got to fish this weekend. Guess what? I saw a bunch of sand bass around, and I went to work on them, and boy, was it fun! Right? Like, I don't care. I just want to set the hook. Like, let's just fight a fish. So that's my to the those of us that have been in it a while. Let's stop with the negativity now. To the younger guys, I'm worried about what the future is, because I see a lack of professionalism. I'm just going to call it what it is. I see a lack of professionalism that I'm concerned with. Now, I get it, because if some old talking heads are being negative towards you, I know what I would be at that age. Like, dude, you're not going to talk to me that way. I'm going to do it my way. There needs to be some more of a mentorship, because the future of this industry, whether we like it or not, is these kids, is these younger guys. These are the guys that are going to allow us. So if we cut them off, say, hey, you can't go fishing if you're 29 years or older or younger. You cannot go fishing, period. Everything, you think things are expensive now? Wait till you take a whole demographic out of it. Your licenses are going to go through the roof. In the state of Oklahoma, our wildlife department is funded by outdoorsmen, by hunters and fishermen. Those ramp fees that are making boat ramps, those boat ramps are no longer going to be $5 that we gripe about, or $2. It's now $100, because we're taking a demographic out of it. And so I see both sides where I'm like, guys, let's stop. What is the message we're sending? Let's recognize that these younger guys are going to be the future of this industry, whether it's professionally or just the industry as well. And we need to do a better job as older guys of mentoring them. Younger guys do a better job of listening. And then, like you said, if you don't like the technology, don't use it.
Yeah, I'm not getting into any morality, right, wrong, whatever issue on this. Like, here's what I will say. I cover this 365, 24 hours a day for decades. Like, it's my life. It's not like, oh, I'm clocketed to talking about it. I am just as impressed. And this is the honest to God truth. I am just as impressed watching Dylan Nutt shallow scope individual fish off of the bottom in the Bassmaster Classic and getting them to commit.
Yeah.
I am equally impressed with watching Bill Lowen go down a seemingly endless grass mat and throw a swim jig in it, or Greg Hackney go down a row of bushes and flip in it. And at both times I'm going, my skill set that I currently possess does not allow me to do what Dylan did, and does not allow me to do what Greg Hackney did.
Right. That's I'm
learning from both. I want to go out and learn from what I watch in the Classic with Dylan, and every time I watch like what Zach Burge or what's going on there, I want to go out and do that as well. Yeah.
And that's my whole deal, is like, forget the morality side of it. Just let's go do what you want to do, and let's learn. Because I believe,
David, you might not be equally impressed. That's you. We're individuals. There's 5 billion people on Earth. That's totally fine with that. Like, we've had a very healthy discussion on the side of it. Like, I am totally good with people who don't like technology. I'm totally good with the guys who, hey, I haven't casted a fish not on live scope over the last 5 years. Where I'm at it, where I have the problem is where you have people that say, you're less of a person, you're less of a human. That is a reflection on society today and not on fishing. Like, dude, we're all in the fishing game. Like, are there bad apples in anything? Yeah, but you go to a random boat ramp and start talking with people, and more times than not, you're going to find a dude that you're like, man, I drink a beer with that guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I have phenomenal conversations at boat ramps with guys that are still running like an old hook 5. I mean, literally. And they're like, oh, I just like going down the bank on a spinnerbait. All that stuff's cool, but that's not how I want to fish. They don't yell at me. They don't get mad at me for having it on my boat. They think it's cool, but that's not how they want to fish.
Go down to East Texas. See who's in the boat with Gladfeller, who's in the boat with Burks, who's in the boat with that. Go to any lake in Oklahoma from October through March and look at who's in the boat with a thriving crappie industry of guides who are booked 4 months out. It's not young kids with flat bills. It's 50, 65, 70-year-old dudes who are catching every crappie on live scope and having the most fun that they've ever had before. And it's guys who are catching their PBs in the boat with these guys in East Texas and scoping, who are out there because they want to learn the technology and do it. It's a thing that it's a young man. There are a lot of different generations that are enjoying this and catching more. And until you can provide the empirical facts, the science behind it, the study. I literally just spoke at the conservation symposium at the Bassmaster Classic on Saturday morning. Now, if there were studies, irrefutable studies that were coming out that were saying, since this technology, our bass populations are plummeting, our blah, blah, blah. Now you have to look at that. Produce those studies, show those studies. Don't just say that it's hurting it. Don't just say that it's not. Like, show me the facts on it. Otherwise, it's a gut punch reaction. And now you're just projecting your personal feelings on other people who aren't hurting the resource, who aren't hurting the fishery, who aren't doing it, who aren't even minding your own business. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I'm on a soapbox a little bit here.
Well, but you're right. That I have said that. I said the minute that somebody can show me an actual scientific study, because I want fishing to continue.
I've just pissed off so many of these guys here. It's.
No, I wasn't trying to do that, but the reality is, if it is something that is hurting, if this was, hey, we're going to go pour diesel in every lake that I go to, I'm going to just go dump diesel cans. We've got some scientific data that says dieseling lakes is not good. So let's not do that. And the minute that we actually see real studies, and there has not been one produced, if there's one been produced, put it in the link. Let's go. Let's see. Not my buddy knows a guy who knows a guy that says this lake. That's what I get all. Well, used to the crappie were in this creek. Now they're not. Dude, we're in a drought in Oklahoma. We're in a drought. Like, there are so many environmental factors to what is happening with fish pot. There's a lake that I know very, very well. My buddies used to joke that I had the fish name. That's how well I knew it. I mean, I literally knew down to the minute when I needed to be on a certain spot. That's how consistent those fish were. And that lake is not what it used to be. Why? Well, let me tell you why. Because I was in the prime of that lake. The fish were studs, but they were at the end of their life cycle. Lakes are cyclical. And before LiveScope came out, I saw that lake downturn. I saw that lake going down. And we had years of drought. So guess what? Imagine right now, our spawns are getting ready to get real hot and heavy. We're in a drought. We're absolutely in a drought. Matt, you agree we're in a drought here? Our lakes are lower than what they should be?
Absolutely.
What happens when these fish go to spawn in their 1 to 5 foot of water? And then all of a sudden in April, we get a bunch of floods. And those fish that were in 5 foot of water are under 12 foot of water. You think we're going to have a successful spawn? No, it's not going to be. There's years we've had bumpers, just bumper crop spawns. Great survivability. And I'm not saying that's the end all be all, but that's one of the factors that goes into what's going on with these lakes. Let's talk about the thing that happened. I'm not going to say the actual name of it, but we all know what we're talking about. Early 20s. You couldn't go to a lake and get in a boat ramp. Forget about the technology, just the sheer number of people. Those fish weren't used to seeing that many people on these crowded lakes.
I mean, go to Lake Fork right now. Try to find a 50-yard stretch that doesn't have guys trying to catch them off the nests.
Off the nest, or boat arc. The new impoundment there in Texas, right? Good luck getting into the parking lot. Random Wednesday, good luck getting in the parking lot if you're not there like 30 minutes before daylight. And then we're going and sight fishing these fish. Why is no one talking about the detriment of pulling a fish off its bed? And I'm not saying there is or isn't. I'm saying what's the data behind it? What is the data? Let's use data. If you don't want to use the technology, don't use it. Plain and simple, don't use it. Fine, go fishing, enjoy. This is supposed to be fun, guys. For the majority of us that are not going to go fish the Elite Series or that professional level tournament, if we're not having fun, what are we doing? At the end of the day, what are we doing? If your version of fun is you want to come in and, dude, Scott, I want this boat rigged to the hilt. Cool. If you come in and say, Scott, I just want a little 9-inch graph so I can get a little bit of side imaging and, a little bit of navigation. Cool. Go get it. I will sell you both. I will install. I'll teach you how to use both. At the end of the day, it's about experiences and having fun. Like, I'm just sorry. There's my soapbox. Like, there's a lot of drama in this industry that I don't understand. I feel like I don't understand. Why are we mad at something, an inanimate object?
Like, whoa. Now you're talking about using data, like real life data. That's BS. The only thing that matters are opinions. That's a fact. And listen, I love the opinions as long as we're not taking shots at each other, as long as we're not doing that, like have a healthy discussion. Scott, you're one of a couple people on Earth. I've got some stuff coming out in the next month that'll probably blow some people's minds.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to what you're always up to. Just like I'm always up to something, you're always up to something, and I like it. I like when you start, hey, Scott, I've got this cool thing coming. I'm looking forward to that for sure.
It's booked. It is on the schedule. It is happening, and no one will see it coming.
You color me intrigued, sir. Color me intrigued because I'm very, very interested. So this will be fun.
All right, now it's time where we're going to talk American politics. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't think we should go there. I think we probably are there. So getting back on topic, are there any questions that popped up about the things we talked about that anybody has that I need to address? I want to make.
I don't know. I was starring some, and then it took a, as Reckless Kelly would say, a wicked twisted road.
Sorry, guys.
Reckless Kelly. First one was a wicked twisted. That's Reckless Kelly, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't
that's
know.
a great. That's a great.
Here's
this was one that I said. How much does that 20-degree emanate out? Can you angle it up and down? Was that talking about the Lowrance at the beginning of the show?
I'm not sure what he's meaning by that. If we're talking about the 20-degree
that was a long time ago. I don't know. I starred like 7 things in the first 20 minutes of the show, and now we're way past that. So
if we're talking about the 20-degree cone, that's just the original active target 1 and active target 2 was a 18-degree cone.
Gotcha.
And the new one is just a 20-degree cone with a 180-degree top to bottom. ETA on deliveries, is it for the spy pole, I'm assuming, hopefully. We're looking the first batch April 1st. So how many I'm going to get, like Garmin confirmed that I've got more on order than anybody in the country, to the point where they actually called me and said, "Are you sure you didn't fat finger this?" And I said, "No, I didn't." I also confirmed that I'm pretty high in the list. If I may be sitting in position 1. I don't know, but I know I'm up there. And then me being me, I also, let's just say I hedged my bets where I'm going to get a pretty good allocation. So, but the last I saw, and guys, I just give you the information as I get it. It's showing, when I checked with Garmin yesterday in the on my order, like it shows me what the estimated ship date was from them was April 1st, which has moved up. Originally it was April 15th. Now that doesn't mean that I'm going to get 1,000 of them on April 1st. It doesn't. I might get 2. I don't know. I may not get any because the ship that they're on may, I don't know, hit a. I don't want to even put it in the universe because that would be my luck. But
Mm-hmm. Spin to Win Strategic said, "Scott, my only complaint is, can you please open an East Coast shop? The drive to Oklahoma and back is rough." Come on, Scott.
We're East Coast. What do we consider East Coast? Like, I mean, is it pretty? Mm-hmm. Like, is it a pretty area? Is it nice beaches? Because if I'm going to go to the East Coast, I'll get out somewhere that I'm, makes it worth it, right? But you never know where I might actually show up, or mobile installs or something.
Thoughts with Market Texas. He said, "I'm told, Sue, if I survive my cancer treatment, I'm buying a decked out boat with all the FFS."
Well, most importantly,
that's real life right there, folks.
And most importantly, forget about the rest of it.
That's real life right there.
Yeah. Hope everything goes well with the cancer treatment there.
Yeah. Pete said, "Can we get these companies to cut their prices by, say, 50%?
I would love that. I just want to say something. I think I've said this before. I know people say, "Oh, Scott sold that to me for $3,000. Scott made $3,000. I assure you, Scott didn't make anywhere near $3,000. Scott has to sell a lot of $3,000 products to keep the lights on.
I will say this: everything you see on my boat that I fish with in the opens or that I've had, I do not get for free from the Bass Tank.
Yep. So you know,
it's not like I'm pumping this stuff and it's going to show up on my freaking boat and everything, and I'm like, "Oh, this is the greatest, Scott. I'd like this, one of these, two of these, three of these, one of these." Yep. Doesn't work that way.
Yep.
Margins just aren't there. They're not there for anyone.
No, they're not. And so it's tough. But
are they making a lot? Yeah, a little Google search shows. I mean, they're big ass companies, especially the parent companies.
Yeah. The publicly traded companies, their information is a little more available. So it's pretty amazing. And you would think like, oh, they could afford to do that, maybe, but they also had the R&D. That's something that factors into, what was the R&D? Forget the actual product that they're selling right now, how that much it costs to make that. But the reality is, how much R&D did they spend ahead of it? They're behind the 8 ball. So, hey, I like where the chat's going right here. Showing some support for a listener.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of good stuff. It's always, it's I'll tell you what, it's easy to focus on the few bad. I'll be honest, Scott, like I can't tell you, there'll be 30 comments on something, and one comment will be like, "God, Matt has really ran BTL into the damn ground." And I hate to say this, it's human nature on me. Like I shouldn't even say it. That'll freaking, if I let it, that'll bug me. One thing.
Yeah. Dude, I get it. Look,
that's human nature.
It's human nature. I tell people all the time that I am human. We are human. Believe it or not, we are human here at the Bass Tank. And I promise you that I'm going to make a mistake. And I tell my guys, if a mistake is made, the first question I'm going to ask you is the customer negatively affected? And if they are, is the customer okay? And you knew that was coming. You knew it was coming. Well played, sir. I love it. Well played. But, if I make a mistake, even if, I contact the customer, "Hey, man, this messed up." I actually had one yesterday. Plain and simple. I failed. My shipping guy was on vacation last week. I get back from the Classic, got a guy on vacation. I have to handle shipping as well, which is not my forte. He's really good at it. I got mad respect for him because I'm like, what is happening? Guess what? I failed to get a product out the way I was supposed to. It was a small thing. Customer contacts me yesterday. Mind you, I'm only a day late, but he just reached out. Hey, I didn't get a tracking. So I called him. I said, dude, this one's on me, squarely on me. And it bothered me. Customer's like, oh, no big deal. Thank you for the communication. Not a big deal at all. Just was curious. So customer is totally cool. It ate me up last night. It ate me up that a customer had a bad experience, right? So I get it, man. Like, you open, by the way, you open this. You should not.
Oh, hey, I will hard sell something at the Bass Tank.
Uh-oh.
I came in.
I have no idea what this is, by the way.
I came in and bought the. I got a deal on it, but I came in and bought the entire system of Bubba.
Oh yeah,
Bubba system.
Yep.
Should have done it the last 3 years.
I told you. I told you.
The highest end one with the cull tags, with the deal. Like, I spent 30 minutes. I sat down. I set the thing up. I set it to the 5 fish to automatically cull. I got the cull bubbles that go with it that tell me what number and color. I turn it on. I have probably wasted 3 hours of my life in tournaments. More than that. I probably wasted an entire tournament day over the past 3 years not using it culling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
one of the fastest ways to burn time, to lose time in a day, is when you go to cull. If you don't have, to be effectively culling, and like, it's that's why I only catch 5 fish in a tournament. That way I don't have to cull. I'm like, yep, this is what it is.
Forward facing, you catch every fish in the lake, so you have to cull a lot. Remember,
that's
Scott?
true. That's true. I forget about that.
Yeah, if you see it, you got it.
You jump in the boat. Yeah, so that,
I'll go to thebasstank.com. It's not, I mean, I will straight up say, I would prefer, and Scott would prefer, if you purchase these items from the Bass Tank.
I would.
But just as a general tournament fishing hack, the Bubba Pro Series Smart Fish Scale, and a combination with the Bubba culling indicator set, and a rechargeable battery. So you're in 60, 80, 220. You're in about $300.
Yeah.
You will not regret that. Now, I haven't tried the other stuff because Gamakatsu and Spro and all that make it. But I had this little smart fish scale at 69. I liked it, but not. I mean, it's like this, if you're just looking for like the weight of a fish, 10 out of 10. If you're looking to actually like cull and do stuff, this is a 10 out of 10. Watch the freaking reviews on how to do it. Like, you can set it up for 5 fish, and then literally, like, when I know this is old news, this is me being an old man and not have done this, but when you catch your 6th fish, it automatically changes it and tells you what color to cull, and you hit one button and then it automatically updates your total weight, and then you go and you grab the blue one, which is number 2, which I remember. Boom. Now number 2 has that on it. You never have a fish that leaves a live well, and you spend 5 seconds out of your day.
Yep.
It is. But it helps to have that the cull deals, and I like the cull deals. I haven't had them come off. They haven't broken yet. Like, I'm a couple months in. Ledoux is doing the same system. Yes, I know I'm ancient. I'm just saying, if there are other people like me. Yeah.
Well, and Bubba's been out for a while, but I don't know that everyone fully understands the evolution, because they had the Bubba knife and the Bubba scale, but I don't know that people fully grasp that it's kind of a system that can work well together. Let's be more efficient. Like, at the end of the day, I'm going to use a KVD reference here, if I might. One thing, KVD was a phenomenal fisherman, but if you ever watched him, if you ever got to be around him and watch him fish, you know why he beat people a lot of times? Because in an average day, a guy may make 1,500 casts. KVD made 10,000 casts.
It's the same as Drew Gill, Scott. It's exactly what Drew Gill's gained. It's efficiency to put your bait in front of the most active fish.
So exactly. And so in a tournament day or just a fun fishing day, think about wasted time. And I talk about this, like, there are certain lakes that have long, I want to go in this creek arm, but there's a no wake buoy at the front. The whole thing is an idle.
Mm-hmm.
Well, with our trolling motors now, any of them, and I don't care what brand, I've got a remote, and if they're connected to my graph, I can set a waypoint and say, take me there. So your trolling motor is cruise along, and by the way, they go about as fast as the motor is in idle. And I'm not telling you not to pay attention. First and foremost, motor safety is paramount, even on the trolling motor. But imagine me right there while I'm idling, I'm no waking to the front of that. I could do some reties. That might save me 5-10 minutes as opposed to retie and then idle out. I could retie while I'm doing that. I could eat a sandwich because, hey, it's a good idea to eat when you're on the water so you can actually think clearly. But if I do that 6 times, I just got 30 minutes of my day back. That's a lot of fish I can put a bait in front of in 30 minutes. So the efficiency, anywhere I can be more efficient, and literally you don't think about the culling side of it being efficient, but I'm going to tell you right now, it's one of the hardest things that I had to come up with because my brain works a certain way. I'm like, well, it's got to be this. It's got to be this. Well, now I'm going to do it this way. Then I'm like, I've got to start over. I'm going to recount all these fish. That was annoying. So then you have something like this, like, cool, I push a button. And it's just another aspect of making life easier. And one thing that, as I've gotten older, I'm going to tell you, if something can make my life easier, not that I'm lazy, but I'm going to do it most likely. Just, I have more fun that way. I feel like I've got less time than I've ever had. And so if I can be more efficient to multiply that time, I'm going to do that.
Did you see that last comment that I just flashed up there?
I missed it. Was it the lifetime?
I'm going to break the internet. That's my goal. Just 5 seconds.
It is what it is. Look, guys, we can have different opinions. Let's just talk about it as opposed to yelling at each other. Like, let's just talk about it. But let's not be so negative. Let's have fun. Let's go fun. Let's go have fun.
You have to pay me a lot of money to share a boat with that guy, though.
Fair enough. All right. How much money? You have me. Could we? Is it Kickstarter? Is that the old original GoFundMe? Is that what would it? I wonder if we could do.
Or maybe I would just do it for fun. You never know.
That could be fun. I mean,
you never know.
But could we do a? I wonder if a fundraiser, like what kind of money that would raise for a fundraiser.
I'm doing it for a fundraiser.
Okay, fine. I'm just thinking because I want to see it. I'd like to see it.
The St. Jude shirts will be out this week.
Okay, there you go. There's your fundraiser.
100%. If you also want to fish a tournament, the St. Jude BTL for St. Jude tournament. Look, he said $5. Super chat. Thank you. I love it. That one. Him and is it Money Bass? He's a dude who does he's got a YouTube channel. He jumps on every now and then. Good dude.
Yeah. So did he just send you $5?
Yeah, that's how that worked to the super chat. And now that I mean, like, officially, I get $5 for that.
Yeah.
There was a time and place where I was not getting the $5 for that.
Yeah. Right on. All right. You're growing up in the world.
There may be talking to those guys. You never know. There may not be.
I think respectfully saying there's no talking to them is absolutely going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. The minute we literally close our mind to that there's absolutely no talking to them. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to magically come to an agreement, but if we can just come to a point of mutual respect of disagreement, I think that's a step in the right direction. I'll take that right now compared to the drama in the industry.
All right. I'm going to show the new St. Jude shirt that I think I'm going with. And it's different than the previous ones. And I've gotten mixed reviews on it. But I kind of like it. It's different from the Bass Fishing Saves Lives. We've done this every year. It's the same t-shirt that are the ones in the past. And I just want some general opinions on it because I have to confirm it today. It's different, but like I know a lot of kids and women get the shirts and stuff, but I also I'm not a huge fan of like fish, actual bass on shirts. But just thoughts and opinions on that. With the little BTL logo at the top.
I don't know why that's bad. I think that's cool, personally. If you want my opinion, I think it's cool.
That's the one I'm going to go with.
I may get roasted in the chat, but I think that's cool.
Yeah. I had a couple of people thought it was a little bit corny, but I'm like, dude, like it. I like it. That's what we're going with, and we're going to go with the. We're going to have a green one. I like it. Okay, yeah, I'll give her the go ahead, and then ATS printing. If you guys need like a ton of stuff printed, I don't know how small they go. Like I think BTL might be like the smallest thing that they do because they do like Super Bowl and World Series printing and all that stuff. But if you guys have it, ATS up in Michigan, Gilman prints a ton of stuff in the industry, supports St. Jude. They basically give me the t-shirts for nothing. So the profit margin is the biggest with 100% of that going to St. Jude. Just on the t-shirts alone, we've raised over $10,000 for St. Jude in the past 3 years. So
yeah.
Greatly appreciate it, guys. So that'll be available for 2 weeks. And then the way that we make more money on it is we'll open that for 2 weeks. And then when it closes, they do it all printing in one run. So then we don't have anything that's left over. And then it comes out. And I saw 20 St. Jude shirts at the Bassmaster Classic, the Bass Fishing Saves Lives t-shirts that guys were wearing when they met me and Frank. So
that's cool. That's a cool turn circle right there. You know it. That's cool.
So yesterday, Kyle, literally the whole first segment of the show was Tom Brubaker from Fishing Chaos, where we went through the updates, how many people were over 170 people right now in the Fishing Chaos tournament. It's open from March 1st through April 15th, $25. Sign up for Fishing Chaos. 100% of the proceeds go to that St. Jude. We're over $4,250. The goal is $10,000. We went through the leaders, all the different stuff. You can get prizes for that. So you can go back and watch that segment. There you go. I forgot to measure my fish at Kanawha. I should have measured them because Ledoux put a 26-inch bump board in there. And
yeah, you
I was so freaking pumped that we were catching so many big ones that I didn't measure it. And they were all post spawn too. So they were probably all like 23, 24 inches, not 24. They're probably 21 to 22 and a half inches long. Now that I measure fish and run an online tournament with Fishing Chaos, I understand how long bass are. So when a kayaker gets on and he's like, look at this beauty 23-incher, I'm not just like nerd. Now I'm like, oh, that's a hell of a specimen. That's a damn nice fish, son. 23-incher, hell yeah.
I don't even know you anymore, Matt. I don't even know you. It's funny when you go up north and people talk about, they're talking about fishing inches, and I'm like, I'm having to do the math in my head. I'm like,
yeah, the Crappie Chronicles do that with their crappie. Oh yeah, we got done eating 2 pounds of cheese curds and slamming some lining kugels. And then we caught a 15 3/4-inch crappie. I'm like, cool. Did you put it on a scale?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I get it on fish like a walleye or a pike. Those.
Hell yeah! Scope Goat's in the comments.
Oh dang,
dude! He was he had what? He dominated that deal at Santee, and then he had a Yoda the next week in Florida, where he's from, and the dude stayed in a part of the chain that had cell service to do a BTL, and I basically was like, no, I'll get you on after, and he's like, no, I'm doing BTL. I'll fish in this neck of the woods until the show's over.
That's commitment right there.
You talk about the younger generation there. Like, I got Dylan Nutt on tomorrow and stuff, but like just the respond and take advantage, make a career out of it. Like, hats off. I'm a fan of the Scope Goat. I was supposed to grab a Scope Goat hat at the Classic, but what I'm going to end up having to do is send him a BTL hat. I don't know if you can put a Barks. This is, for the record, this is a Barks root beer, people. I'll have to send him a koozie and a hat and trade him for his Scope Goat hat. Did you see his hats?
No.
Dude, you need one of these.
Okay.
I don't know if he's selling them. I think he was giving them away at the Classic.
I'll trade. I don't know if he's interested in a Bass Tank hat or not, but I'll trade him. Scope Goat, if you're still listening, hit me up. I'll trade you a hat for hat, bro.
There it is right here. I think he's probably got it on. He's got to have it on here. I don't know if he had it. It might have been just been in his story. He had like boxes. It has got an actual goat on it. It's pretty impressive.
Hey, I've got to tell you this story, by the way. This is just a side little fun fact. It was a fun story. It gave me I don't want to say a sense of pride, but it made me happy, right? So I'm driving down the road and this truck rolls up on me hard. It's dark and I'm like, oh boy, what's going on? And I turn on to the main street of this town and this truck rolls up hard to the side of me and slows down. I'm like, did I do something goofy? What's going on? I look over and this kid is looking at me. He's like, dude, I love your boat. I love the bass tank, whatever. I'm like, this is a 12-year-old kid. He knows who we are. That's awesome. His dad was in there and his dad was a customer. I recognized him once I saw it. And so we're driving. Now, mind you, we're slow rolling, kind of talking down this side street, basically, and not violating any laws, by the way. And the kid's sitting there and I said, hey, dude, I've got a hat. I remember I had one hat in the backseat of my truck. I said, dude, do you want a hat? And he was like, yeah, that'd be so cool. So slow rolling, we come to, technically we're still easing forward, but we basically came to a stop. And it was kind of one of those calls where safely we handed it out the window, and it was just cool because, kids are the future. And that was kind of my whole point before was, these kids are the future. And I love seeing them involved. And it's really cool that, quite frankly, I'm just a dude from the sticks. And so when I go somewhere and I get recognized, I'm like, why do you recognize me? Like, what? I'm a nobody. Why are you recognizing me? And so it's really cool when kids recognize the hard work you put in to build a brand, to build a company, and they recognize, they follow your stuff and they recognize you out. Like, it's really cool. And then just see their excitement when you just give them a hat. It's just
poison them with your forward-facing technology.
I didn't even talk about forward-facing. I just gave him a
poison
hat.
Them.
He was probably already poisoned. Probably had an iPhone in his hand anyway.
It's unbelievable, Scott.
I know. I do what I can.
Audacity. I was rolling down the road, the highway the other day. I'm not trying to one up your story, but I had something similar.
Okay, here we go.
Someone introduced. This was kind of badass though, and this crotch rocket goes past me at like 90, and I'm going like 75. And then all of a sudden you hear, and he slows down, and then he slows down back, and he gets even with me. Well, now I'm like, please no blowouts, whatever. And he's like, looks at the whole rig because, it's wrapped and all that. And then he goes, then you hear, and he comes up next to me, and he looks over at me, and he like points at me. And I'm like, is something wrong with my rig or something? So I roll the window down, and he like gestures to the boat and gives it a thumbs up. And then he goes back. And then when he comes back past me, he has no hands on the wheel on his bike. Yeah. He's going 75 and he's going like this, sets the hook as he passes me and starts reeling it in. And I give him the thumbs up. Then he puts both hands back on, pops a freaking wheelie at 75, and then takes off at 90 again.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God.
BTL neither condones nor
it wasn't BTL, it was just the boat. But I was like, okay, that was kind of badass.
Yeah. It's cool. It's fun. Being at the Classic, it was fun to get to see people. It's fun to walk around. We didn't have a booth this year, but I feel like I talked just to as many people as I would have if I would have had a booth, from people that were past customers that I got a chance to talk to. I stopped over Bass Cat and ended up talking to 2 or 3 of my customers there. And so that's awesome, Mark, right there. Like, I hope nothing but the best for him right there. But the Classic was awesome. Like, it just was awesome to get to see the customers that we talk to every day that no doubt support BTL and support me at the Bass Tank, and I talked to as many customers. I got stuck in the Garmin booth and Garmin left me. They left me. They were done. It was at the end of the day. They're like, hey, Scott, turn the units off when you leave. Because I had a customer talking about the spike pole, right? Mm-hmm. And the show was over. They're like, hey, we got to go to this dinner. I mean, it wasn't like they abandoned their stuff. I don't want that to be. But you get to sit there and talk to them.
That was the end of the show.
it was the end of the show. It was literally the end of the show. And trust me, I know what it's like at the end of the show, dude. I'm ready to shut it down and get out of there. And but it was a good classic. I enjoyed it a lot more. Now, getting there was a nightmare. I don't know anybody else that traveled there, if they had the same travel problems I did, coming or going, but boy, that was an adventure. It was memorable.
Yeah. One of the cool things, and congratulations, I'll have to get him on the show again. Rick Pierce getting into the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
But I had a couple, literally coincidence happened. So I had never been around, and I never met him. I still haven't met him, but just parallel with boat people, Earl Bentz in
nice
person.
Yeah.
And like the way you see him in the magazines and stuff is how he looks in person.
Yeah.
Like, he's got like an entourage around him and stuff. We ate at the same place. And one of the guys I ate with, Frank and Trailer Rick, and Trailer Rick at some point had made trailers, or maybe still does, or whatever, for Earl. So they knew him. And then Frank had been with Triton at one point way back in the day. So like Earl knew him, and they talked, and I just kind of stood back there and was like, oh, that's cool. That's Earl Bentz. And then, the car pulled up, they opened the door, he got in.
Yeah.
Earl Bentz doing Earl Bentz stuff. But then I get back and I did a massive clean out of the garage because we're putting new shelving in and all sorts of stuff to get that space dialed in. And I came across a box of old fishing books that my mom back in the day collected. She's an English teacher, collected books like we collect mega bass. Yeah. Baits. And I came across this, the Bass Boat Bible by Earl Bentz and Don Worth.
Wow.
Way back in the day, which talks about all the props. But the interesting thing on here is how there's like a whole chapter called Thoughts on Rigging, and it goes through how much money it costs. There's literally like a dollar bill and stuff on that, and then it said this is one of the pages in here, and we'll kind of end the show on this. This is one of the pages in here, and this book is actually signed by Don Worth, who wrote it, but it's to Bud, so I guess I could be Bud. It said, to Bud, a great fisherman, Don. And I'm trying to figure out what year this was. 1983.
Yeah, so yeah.
This is I'll leave people with this. I'll say new Bassin technology means sophisticated electronic gear such as the Lowrance X15 chart plotter, which utilizes microcomputers. Note, installation of this unit on carpeted installation of unit on carpeted board beneath console. Graph is slid out when needed and can be quickly removed from the boat. Under console position means greater cockpit visibility for unit that isn't obstructing the view of the driver. It literally is an entire chapter on keeping up with installing the newest, latest, and greatest technology in bass boats in 1983. And I mean, they're talking about, holy cow, a microcomputer in this thing.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I had that next. I said, if it kind of gets down to it, I'll mention it.
I mean, we've queued this up. Would there have been the same outrage back in 83 with that?
I don't know. I know.
With social media.
Listen. Yeah. I don't know. I know, I mean, like it's.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know at one point, transducers for electronic gear such as depth finders and chart recorders should be moved to shoot through the hull whenever possible, thereby eliminating interference with flow of water from the prop. Many bassers remove speedometer and replace it with an in-dash depth finder. That was a Humminbird flasher at the time.
Yeah.
I know, so it would have been late 2009, 2010, that time of year, 8, 9, 10. I know that we were at the Elite Series on Toledo Bend, and it was back when Harold Allen, we were doing Wide Open back then. So I was on the boat covering, taking photos, doing video, live stuff on the water with Harold every day. And I know that one of the days, one of the leaders was above the bridge. And you know what Toledo Bend looks like above the bridge.
I do.
And there was a guy out in the middle, and Harold dog cussed GPS coordinates and mapping for the entire week because it, quote, ruined all the hard work he had put in on Toledo Bend to find those hard spots back in the 70s.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was legitimate, but his whole thing was, he didn't find that. He drove to it. And then the next day he drove back to it. Yeah. And he knew how to drive to it because his computer told him how to drive through it. He goes, do you know how long it took me to find that out? He said decades.
Yeah.
And yeah. Yep. Now, would he be one of the guys who's on Facebook going, F 1 foot contours? Possibly. I don't know how well you know Harold Allen. If that was in his repertoire.
Everybody has a line of technology. I've said it once, I'll say it, continue to say it. Everyone's got a line of technology they don't want to cross. And
me included.
Yep. Me too.
Included.
Me too. Absolutely.
I don't know where that line is though.
I know where the line is. I don't know if there's a spot before that line. I'll tell you where it is right now. I'm not a fan. If we start putting VR goggles on our face to fish outside, I'm out. I'm out. Now, am I going to hate on people that do it? I'm going to say, man, that's kind of silly. Now, there's a legitimate safety concern. How many people are going to walk off the deck of their boat because they've got glasses on? But for me, I still enjoy being outside and being able to see my surroundings. I enjoy that. That is my line that I can see right now. Now, is there something between where we are now and that I might say, hey, that's too much? Absolutely. I'm gonna reserve that. But at the end of the day, we're just hating technology because for some reason it's crossed the personal line. Because if you hate technology in general, you could go back to chasing fish with your bare hands. Mankind has always had the mind to basically come up with technology to basically try to trick the animal kingdom. We don't have claws, we don't have very good night vision, we don't have all the things, we don't have the extra sensories. What we have is a mind to be able to reason and basically create technology. A cane pole in itself is still stinking technology.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'll tell you,
get back right now.
No, it's not a soapbox. We're just talking now.
Yeah.
So like in my mind is, so like there is a line. So, and I'm not comparing the two sports, but I am in a way. So like a 460 cc driver, what your shaft can be made out of, they test the driver faces on that, what your ball can be made out of. You have the standards. So I guess the way that I right now, as of March 24th, 2026, picture it as saying, okay, like if I'm an organization, just like NASCAR did, just like any of these things did, you say, okay, this is our line, and we're going to allow you to tweak within that line. So it might be a new transducer that makes things a little bit cleaner, or a faster processor, or something that makes it easier to understand, but it's not the quantum leap stuff to where it's like, okay, now it allows you to lock on the fish and follow the fish. That's just me personally right now, to where they say, okay, we understand that this is helping you, just like going from the latest and greatest tailor-made driver obviously helps you from the persimmons back in the day.
Yep.
But it also still allows the time on the water, the skill, the natural ability, the technology, and the decision-making to come into play. So yeah, your average drive is going to be 300 yards instead of 220 yards, but we're still, but this is like where our line is. So now, regardless of what it is, you're tweaking it within this. So now the electronics companies are saying, okay, this is our ceiling, and it's our ceiling right now. And I don't know how the USGA or anything works on what does and it isn't allowed, but I mean, they just made the change on the anchored belly putter because of optics. I mean, you could say that the anchored belly putter, you had guys that were totally against it. You have the two-handed bowlers. The bowling association went through for the two-handed bowlers. You're going through urethane balls and plastic balls and different types of balls and things like that and all that. So that is a blurry line, but my line is, hey, we're 8 years into this thing. Maybe we're kind of approaching a line to where we have it now, to where it's like, hey, you can have one transducer, LVS 34. You can't have the 62. You can have 53 inches of screen, to where the companies, instead of trying to make quantum leaps to saying, well, we can see 100 feet. Let's see if we can see 300 feet. We can see the fish's tails and the shapes of the fish. Let's see if we can determine the exact size of the fish. We can lock onto a piece of structure. Now let's see if we can lock onto the fish. Like, if that line is stated and said, every 5 years we're going to reevaluate this, but for the next 5 years, this is what it is, then it allows those companies in the arms race to tweak what is within the rules without getting outlandish of it. And then as anglers and as people in the sport, we know, hey, we may have 5-year-old technology, but the drivers 5 years ago and the drivers today, I don't have to go out and buy a new $500 driver every single year because I'm getting outdrove by 50 or 60 yards. It's just a yard or two different. It may help a little bit with straightness, with weight on it, but they're all still generally the same. Like, I'm using a Ping driver that's 11 years old now. I'm totally fine with that. Like, yeah, it might slice it a little bit more, or I might not get as much carrier. It might hit my ball a little bit too higher, but I'm not at that level where I'm like, hey, I need these little itty bitty tweaks. So that's where I think that line needs to be made by the organizations in coordination with the companies to say, okay, we have the data now, we have the studies, we have the line. Here's where the line is. Here's the line for the foreseeable future. You have a playground within this to work, to where you can get your little advantages, your little tweaks, but it's not quantum freaking leaps.
Here's what I'm going to tell you. And you and I probably see this differently, but I'm going to tell you that, I have a lot of data to prove otherwise. These companies don't care what these organizations do. They could ban it tomorrow 100%, and these companies are still going to make this full-fledged. They're the best technology they can. I started this off by saying, I said the majority of my customers are not tournament anglers. The tournament organizations have very minimal power.
Yeah, and that's totally fine. I'm just saying, for the integrity of the sport, make it all. Like, make it all. If there's races literally where it's like, let's see how fast we can make this car. Those aren't the NASCAR races.
Right.
That exists 100%. I'm talking about within our little bubble, our little ethosphere of tournament fishing, how I, in my head right now, kind of see the healthiest thing for this sport for the next generations. I 100% understand that those companies will make it and will make a profit. And as long as it's legal, and until studies say, hey, once this came out, fishing catch rates declined X per hour or whatever, then that impacts me, because that impacts the sport that I love and what I'm doing. I'm talking literally about that tournament fishing. I think that's the smartest, healthiest, most logical way to do it, which involves all of those organizations setting those boundaries, working within those boundaries, and saying, we don't care what's out there. This is what we're saying it is. So we're not out driving the course. We're not that's just in my head of how I see it.
And that's totally fine. Like, I get it. Like, I've got no problem with my biggest issue with the rules changes is it seems like it's never consistent. It's always changing. Let's get to something and let's do a 2 or 3 year study. Like it or hate it right now. Let's see. I hope, NPFL is no scope. Guys, keep that. I like that there's an option out there, right? Keep that. Don't go changing it next year. Keep it. It seems to be working for you. Keep it. MLF, whether I like your format or not, keep it. Bass, whether I like your format or not, keep it. Let's get some data, as opposed to a 1 year sample size that there's other factors that we didn't know about.
Yeah. And it helps you as a business owner. You have guys with FOMO like me going, well, what do I need for the year? I'm going to wait till this. If I know that the driver I buy now is still going to be competitive 4 years from now, regardless of what technology comes out, because the drivers are playing by the set of rules and those rules aren't going to change, I'm going to pull the trigger. More guys are going to pull the trigger. Now your investment, instead of going, well, am I going to have to spend $4,000 every single year once they announce latest and greatest thing? Now you're saying, okay, that's $1,000 a year over the 4 years. And I know, even if I've got a guy with a brand new boat that's competing in the same Bassmaster Open or the Bassmaster Elite Series that I'm competing against, he might have 2026 stuff, but the stuff that I have that's in 2024, that's still functional, that's still working, is still on par with him it might just be a little bit, just a little tweaks, just
a few tweaks, right? It's not a whole new system.
Take your personal opinion out of it, but standardizing it for chunks of time, especially if these companies don't care about it, then it's super easy for them about it, because now there's no force. If they don't care about the organizations, there's no reason for the organizations to say, oh, well, we have to keep giving them the latest and greatest stuff, because otherwise they'll leave if they don't care about it. And Chase has been on to say that they're not making decisions based on electronics company sponsorships. Then give us a time period to say from 2026 to 2029, this is the technology that you'll be able to use. Listen, we've had the 3-point in now. We're not going to take the 3-point in line out now. We're seeing an influx in younger anglers. Look at who was walking around the Bassmaster Classic. It's definitely a change, but this is the line, and this is what our playing field is going to look like. Go buy those electronics, go learn it, go do it, and you know that it's going to be relevant for years to come. That's my box.
I'm with you on that. Because if you look at the technology, about 3 to 4 year cycle is where there's some new thing. Now, whether that's a quantum leap thing or whether that's just an enhancement, the 32 to the 34, 4 years. Active Target 1 was a little bit behind. So, the original 32 release. So Active Target 2 came out a little bit faster, but it's about a 3 to 4 year cycle on that before you see something new. And now, is it something that is, there's only so many things that can come out. Garmin coming out with a spy pole, that is, in the Garmin world, that's innovative. The reality is there's been other things that you could parts and piece together to kind of do a lot of the same things. So it's not totally revolutionary. It is revolutionary to the Garmin ecosystem, and now with that being said, it's revolutionary that we're putting the 360 and the live scope on the same pole. So it is that thing now. It is that thing that is like this new, hey, I've got to have this, I believe, if it fits the way I fish. And it's an every 3 to 4 year cycle. And so the guys that, I see it, the uptake on new live scope users is, I don't want to say at an all-time low, but it's settled out. We're in that steady phase where I'm still getting people to say, hey, I guess I need to buy a live scope now, or I need to buy my Active Target now. I'm still getting those calls, but by and large, it's, hey, I've had the 32. I'm ready to upgrade to the 34. I've got the Active Target 1. I'm ready to do the Active Target 2. Should I just wait for the XL? Hey, give me a call as soon as we get off the phone. I'll or get off this call. I have trolling motors available.
Yeah, I mean, the cool thing about the brakes is it's also the innovation. Like the brakes that I have on now, I can pop them off in 30 seconds. I take them off for the Bassmaster Opens. I go a day before to practice to get used to it. I pop them right back on afterwards. In the tournaments I can use them on, I use it. I don't. MLF, you saw guys like Lucas, like Wheeler, Scope Goat's got power brakes on the back there. You see them, they're saying they can use it. Bassmaster has their reasons why they can. MLF has their reasons why they can. But I also, to your point, I think you've seen a shift of some guys that are putting their eggs in the MPFL basket, because they know that it's going to be consistent for several years to come now, and they know what to expect, and they can apply their skill set on that with a consistent set of rules and not have to chase the changes. Chasing the changes is the biggest disruptor in league consistency, regardless of what sport you're in. Before I fished my first tournament, period, just local tournament, I would talk to a group of guys that have been fishing tournaments for a year, years ahead of me. And they're like, Scott, you need to jump in, you need to start fishing tournaments. And we'd go fishing. And if I didn't catch a 4-pounder or 5-pounder, I was pissed. Like this is way pre-scope. And we're talking circa 2006, probably 2007. So the live scope wasn't even a thing, but I was always chasing those big fish. Like that's what I was after. And they would be like, oh, I went today and I caught, 10 keepers. I'm like, a keeper? What? Why do you use the term keeper? That is stupid. Like I literally said, that's stupid. Well, it's because they were used to fishing tournaments, and that's how their mindset, like they were focusing on going catching keepers, where I was like, okay, I got 4 bites today, but I caught big fish. I was happy with that. Mm-hmm. Whereas they were out there saying, I caught a limit. Well, what are you talking about? You caught a limit? Like I caught as many fish as I wanted to today. What are you talking about? Mm-hmm. Oh, I got a limit of keepers. I caught this or I caught that. And so because the rules, to your point, they fish those tournaments, even just at the local level, that's how they geared their fishing. Everything everything was geared towards that. But they knew what those rules were. They knew they needed to go catch 5 fish, and they had to be, probably at that time 14 inches long. So I need 5 14 plus inch fish, and that's how they're going to go figure out how to go do that.
But if all of a sudden, hey, you've got to change everything you're doing to now you've got to go catch 7 18-inch fish just because, for whatever reason, for argument's sake right now you've got to go relearn everything that you're doing. You've got to rebuild your game to go, to your point. So
the biggest instability in the sport with MLF after some poor decisions that they made in 2019 was changing the format from the every fish counts to the 5 fish back to the every fish counts. They had a 1 pound minimum. They had a knot, and they lost a lot. They lost a chunk of guys every single year during that because they didn't have consistency in their format, and guys lost the belief that they didn't know what was coming, if they would be able to compete or not. And they lost a lot of top tier anglers who went back to bass, because the one thing bass remained consistent was a 5 fish limit, 14 inches, 12 inches, 15, whatever it was, but they knew that they were fishing for 5 bass. Once MLF established their consistency of, hey, it's going to be every fish counts, but we're also going to have a minimum weight, and this is how the system's going to work. A lot of that instability at that top level, perceived instability perhaps, but instability within the organization really quieted down. And now I cover every single MLF tournament, and we don't even hear anybody talk about that anymore. But while it was changing, and while there were all these changes and all that, it was just as you would get on here, and all the comments would either be, I love it, or screw that, that's not tournament fishing, whatever. That went away once they established consistency. And this will quiet down and go away once the leagues establish consistency. You don't just like the NPFL, you don't hear them talk about, well, they're not using scope. It's just assumed they've established that consistency. They're in the second year with it. It has gone away on that. MLF has it. Bass is doing the 50-50 now, but we're still in that first couple years of inconsistency at it. And once they come out, and they said, they got the tech committee, they're reviewing it every year, they determine what it is, what not. We've gone down to the one transducer, but until they say, this is it, this is the consistency, this is what it is, the bitching and moaning will subside.
I think so, because I do believe as a consumer, if you just take NFL game, every time you turn on an NFL game, you're like, okay, what are the rules today? What I've got to re-up the rules today. Are we allowed to use a quarterback today or not? I don't know. And if every time you turn on, you didn't know what you're going to do, it's that inconsistency. It's going to be hard to follow. And that a listener,
nail on the head,
100%. And it's
tech is moving faster than the rules set. Wes Hamilton.
And I can tell you this is the industry. The industry is always slow to adapt. I'm not calling any specific boat manufacturers out whatsoever, because there's a lot of really, really good boats out there. But I'm going to tell you right now that most boat manufacturers were 4 to 5 years behind upgrading their wiring from the factory. The very simple thing of upgrading their wiring to handle the new load, the new power requirements of these units. And I was like, well, I guess they're keeping me in business. I guess they're keeping me in business because they're not doing what and I'm like, man, this is not that much of you've got to run a cable anyway. Why don't you just run a bigger one? It's literally that simple. And so the industry moves slower than what it should. It's too reactionary, in my opinion, and there's not a lot of
Bass Tank power harness, fishing electronics wiring kit available on the BassTank.com.
If you have a boat that is pre 2022, 2023, there's a high probability, if you've never rewired it, that you need to rewire it if you have any electronics on it, just point blank. And even then, there's still some out there that I look at and go, what are we doing? Guys, for as much as these boats cost, to upgrade the wire is not that expensive, to do it while you're doing it. But that's okay. Hey, bring it to me. We'll take care of it.
Holy cow, it's 11 o'clock, Scott. I know you got a lot to do. You got a lot of stuff going on.
Oh,
my wife's calling me.
Is she telling you to get off? Hey, Matt, you've gone over. Is she your?
I'm still live. You're not watching, being like, hey, you need to shut up, are you? Yeah, I'm just making sure. I'm just making sure you weren't watching it for work, going, hey, you're damaging the brand, and now we're a team. No, it's all good. All right, I'll call you here in a second. Bye.
That's the first. I've never had you take a call live on BTO.
All right, I appreciate it, Scott. You're the man.
Yeah. All right. Let me know if you have any other questions, Matt. I know you're going to have more, and I'll try to filter back through the guys and answer any questions that they might post later on. So I'll try to keep up if I can.
See ya.
All right. Thanks, Matt. See ya.
All right. 2.5 hours. Tomorrow we're right back at it. The reigning Bassmaster Classic champion, Dylan Nutt, joins BTO. 8:30 a.m. Central Time. Opinions, like well thought out, it works. I'm all for that. Agree, disagree, educated opinions, have at it. I have to wait for the music to start again because we hit it at the end so I can hit it. There it is. All right. This has been another edition of BTL Bass Talk Live. We'll talk to everyone later. See ya.